What is up, you guys? Welcome to this week's edition of Mets Weekly. I'm the host this week, Tony Metro, the notorious LATE. Somehow made it on time today, not by much, but really happy to be here with some fellow content creators. We have Mets Talk with Hayden, Big Apple Sports Banter, Frank About Sports, Mets fan from YouTube, and Andrew Acevedo. So I'm going to let everybody go around, introduce themselves and the channel. You guys can see that we have all of their links in the description, so be sure to go subscribe to them. Let's start with Mets Talk with Hayden.
What's going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden here. Pretty well known for my rages by now. But besides that, I do post some pretty interesting content, videos, live streams, pretty much, anything from predictions, series previews, recaps, summaries, news, all that great stuff. We did a great stream today. We have so many, we had so many non-Met fans. I don't really know why we're getting so many like AL East people in the chat. It's really weird. I don't know why. But yeah, otherwise we had a great stream today. I appreciate everyone who tuned in. We made a little history on the channel. We officially beat the current active high streak of 19-20. So I appreciate everyone who made that possible, and I'm glad Mets Weekly is doing very well, and I want to thank Tony for hosting this week's episode. LFGM, I'm excited for this team going ahead. Let's go, Mets.
All right, Big Apple Sports Banter.
Yeah, it's Elias from Big Apple Banter Media.
Oh, sorry.
Name change.
He changed the name. You got it
It was
wrong.
previously Big
Anyway,
Apple
but he
Baseball
changed it,
Banter.
so
So
it's okay.
it's never sports. Don't worry about it, man. No worries. Big Apple Banter Media, home of Big Apple Baseball Banter, live call-in show every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Call-in, also home of the new show, Meadowland Madness, here with Andrew Acevedo, football show, if anyone's into that. Also, just did an interview with Reckless Airwaves Radio, so make sure you guys check that out. Shout out to them for having me on their show. But make sure to subscribe, Big Apple Banter Media, close to 100. Please get me there. Much appreciated. 6 p.m. Eastern, call-in every Wednesday. Hope to see you there.
And Frank About Sports.
Yep. So Frank About Sports, I talk about mostly the Mets, but other sports are coming, and I have a video coming out next week. Some trade deadline predictions, all around MLB, the main trade targets. That's a video that'll be coming out next week. But be sure to check out my channel. Thank you, Tony, for having us, and let's go Mets. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about.
And Mets fan from YouTube.
I'm Mets fan. Pretty sure everybody knows me by now, but I make baseball videos with kind of an analytical approach, kind of unveiling that unseen truth behind the game. I currently am finishing up a video that should be out this weekend about the MLB, some MLB draft history. It should be fun. So if you like historic stories like that, if you like numbers on the game of baseball, make sure to go check the channel out. And let's go Mets as always.
And the one, the only, Mr. Andrew Acevedo.
What's going on, guys? Yeah, pretty much more armchair GM trades, rumors, more news stuff, incorporating a little more MLB The Show and video game content, other sports. The NHL is going to be off-season is going to start getting going pretty soon. That's going to start coming. Pretty much anything big happening in sports, I usually just throw out my little 2 cents on.
Very nice. Well, glad to have all you guys here. Well, it was a crazy week in Mets baseball, and that's really saying something because we know how insane this team pretty much is on a yearly basis. We had the brawl out in Pittsburgh. We had the 6-run blown lead, the 6-run comeback the following day, the epic marathon in Cincinnati on Monday. So real quick, any general thoughts on how are we all feeling about the Mets as we stand here today on an off day? Let's start Mets Talk with Hayden.
Yeah, I mean, this team is put on quite a surprise. I was watching the Mets and Reds game when Edwin Diaz blew that save. And pretty much simply safe to say my chair and a lot of things weren't too happy with that either. I'm sure Elias can confirm, and there's people in the chat also who witnessed they could confirm. But like I said, this Mets team is on and off. They're very streaky. Like I said, all these names are there. Michael Conforto, Jeff McNeil, Pete Alonso. All of these names are here. It just comes down to the time of can they perform when it's necessary, and that's really all this Mets team needs to do. They need to be hot when they need to be hot. 7 up, okay, then they'll score 5 runs when you already have a 1-0 lead, and that's it. But then you can't score 1 run when it's needed. That's baseball itself. Health is going to be something very, very important coming down the line, especially with our current rotation. Obviously, Tyler McGill is really the most guy I trust on this rotation right now, as crazy as to say. Hopefully we can get DeGrom back soon. Health is going to be something big. And obviously, this offensive burst needs to continue to stay strong.
Big Apple Banter Media. What do
There we
you
go.
have to
Very
say
good, man.
about this?
Yeah, roller coaster week, no doubt about it. Disappointing week in Pittsburgh. We go to Cincinnati and we kick ass. That tough loss, but we fought well to come back, and the pitchers were thrown out there. Robert Stock, Steven Nagosic, Jared Eichhoff. We should not be winning these games. Obviously, we had the big 5-hour game with Edwin Diaz, whatever you want to call him, blowing the game. And Kevin Pillar comes in clutch. James McCann comes in clutch. I'm saying clutch a lot. It's really getting on Mets fans' nerves, I can tell. But roller coaster game, man. Yesterday, fortunately missed the game, but 7-0 dominance from Marcus Stroman. He's not the only guy I trust in this rotation, Hayden. But I trust him. He had a couple rough outings, no doubt about it, but Stroman's going to be fine. Same thing with, when next time we see Walker go out there, I'm excited to see him. But, the offense is finally playing well, and that's the biggest takeaway. Now, hopefully, you wish the pitching didn't do this and the offense did this. You wish they both did this, and both played really well. But, we're winning games, and Davey Joust for Manager of the Year.
Frank.
Yeah, I think today was a much-needed off day, especially when you consider the debacle in Pittsburgh on Sunday with Walker, the ineffectiveness of Eichhoff, the injury to Robert Stock. So the bullpen was completely taxed. I mean, these guys had hardly any arms left, and it was perfect timing for Marcus Stroman to really have a bounce back, a vintage early season Stroman game going the 8 innings. Probably could have been 9 if you really wanted it to. But to give that bullpen a much-needed rest for Wednesday and then another rest today. They really needed it, and I really needed it too, because this was, as you said, a very stressful week. So we needed a day just to clear our minds and kind of relax, get settled in and focus and ready for the next series, because Toronto is not going to be a cakewalk. So, I mean, they got to focus up. And like Leah said, get everything going in the same direction. Not, sometimes the pitching, sometimes the hitting, but being all-around complete team. That's what it's going to take to go all the way.
Mets fan, what do you got?
I think I just should put this very simple for this week. Just another week in Mets land at this point. We all know that this is not even the half of it, of what has happened this year. Sometimes we get this crazy news like Degrom on the injured list and Francisco Lindor on the injured list. Sometimes I'm so numb to it. I'm like, okay, what next? Because it's something that I've just come so immune to. Because that's just been the theme all year. It's been the theme for the last few years. Something is going to go wrong, and I think people are kind of delusional that thinking this whole new ownership is going to make it completely perfect. And if you're expecting perfect, then root for another team, because this is still the New York Mets. So, I don't know what to say at this point. It was just a nuts week. Let's just break it down as simple as I can, because what a roller coaster.
Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. It might as well be called Mets Law. Andrew, hit me.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh is disappointing. Obviously, they're one of the worst teams in the league, and we get 7 games with them and don't take at least 5. Took 3 and they took 4. Then going into Cincinnati and getting the offense going, Conforto looks a little bit better this week. I know he doesn't come up in big spots. We'll probably get to that later. Jeff McNeil's getting going. Alonso continuing his little MVP chase, as I said a couple weeks ago. And again, great to see Stroman bounce back after a kind of shaky start in Pittsburgh. And again, the day off today, maybe there's a move to be made. Who knows? But it's just good to see get the guy the bullpen rested and taking 2 out of 3 from Cincinnati, who was still a pretty good team.
Absolutely. Well, the biggest crux in my weekend was Edwin Diaz, who some people still are touting as a top 3 reliever. Personally, I'm a little concerned, and I think the Mets need to go out and find another closer. That's just my opinion. I think every Mets fan differs on it. So the question to you guys, what should the Mets do about Edwin Diaz? Let's start with Frank.
So this definitely was a rough series of events. Saturday, obviously what happened. And you could, kind of maybe attribute that to Russ. He hadn't pitched since Sunday. And we know that Diaz, like we said, the Diaz rules. He needs all these factors. But that was a long layoff in between Sunday and Saturday. The game on Monday, though, that was inexcusable. That was 2019 Diaz, where he's just all over the place and you just don't have a lot of confidence. So I think that it has come to the point now where, you know what, all off season, Tony, you and I, we said this team needs some more bullpen help. This team needs more bullpen help. Get this guy, get that guy. Mark Melancon made the All-Star team this year, but he couldn't come to the Mets because he needed the closer's role. Brad Hand, who you know I love, couldn't come to the team because he needed the closer's role. So the Mets missed out on all these bullpen guys just because of how good Edwin Diaz is supposed to be. It has now come to the point where the Mets have to make a trade for Craig Kimbrell. It has gotten to the point now where Diaz, you're moving to the 8th inning, take it or leave it. We hear, oh, he could pitch in non-safe situations. Prove it to me. You are now going to be the setup man because you cannot be trusted. Craig Kimbrell's having a monster year, and because the Mets missed out on all these closers for Edwin Diaz in the offseason, you're not getting burnt twice. Shame, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice makes me a dumbass. So I need to get me a closer, move Diaz to the setup man role, and that's what it takes now because this is happening far too frequent now. Spin rates going down. Every time this guy comes into a game, first pitch in the dirt, hits a batter, or goes to the backstop. So stuff like that, it's just not going to get it done in the postseason. The pressure is going to be even more, and Diaz, one bad outing turns into 2 bad outings. His stuff, unquestionably amazing. His mental makeup, not so amazing. So I just think that he's a guy that relies so much on confidence that 1 bad outing becomes to 2 bad outings into 3 bad outings. So I just think that it's unfortunate to the Mets that they had to really cater to this guy so much, whether it was the trade or the kind of role they have to put him in. So I think they got to cover their bases. They can't just say, we're not going to get any help. We're not going to need big-time guys and just say, oh, Diaz is going to figure it out. What if he doesn't? What if he is the reason you miss the playoffs again? You can't let that happen twice.
Elias, what are you thinking about Diaz?
Yeah, I'm not as concerned as you guys. I think Diaz is a very good pitcher. I don't think he's a top 3 reliever just for the same reason that you guys have. You need all these things going right for him. You need the wind blowing in the right direction. You need this, all these different situations. I'm big on versatility. I don't want just one guy who can pitch, the full 9th inning. And Frank is right about, missing out on all these stud relievers because we had to go Edwin Diaz. And I'm not keen on putting all my eggs in the Edwin Diaz basket. Is the spin rate drop concerning? Yeah, maybe Ed Loose Diaz, whatever you want to call him, Ed Loose Diaz, Spider Tack Merchant. Maybe he is one. All I know is, he's a good enough pitcher to get past this tough stretch. Now, you definitely need to come out, and go get, I don't know, I said that. You need to go out and get another bullpen arm. No doubt about it. Maybe I'd go for 2 bullpen arms. Craig Kimbrell, it's the same issue. Is he going to want the closer role? Is Diaz going to be able to be any good outside of the closer role? I'm not, too concerned about him, causing us to miss the playoffs. He hasn't been 2019 bad, no doubt about it. But it's just when he's shaky, I'm okay with having shaky outings every now and then. But shaky outing after shaky outing, back to back to back to back for, it seems like it's been going on for a while now, and you're losing games because of it. It's unacceptable. So luckily we're at the trade deadline point where you can go get another guy. I think you could keep Diaz in the 9th inning. I think he'll be fine. But you can't put all your eggs in the Edwin Diaz basket. That's for damn sure.
Andrew, if you or Sandy Alderson, Luis Rojas, whoever's making the decisions on this team, what are you doing about Edwin Diaz?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can go out and make the trade for Kimbrell or go grab, if you want the number 1 guy is Kimbrell. If you want to go get Richard Rodriguez or Ian Kennedy from Texas, Pittsburgh. Right now, you kind of have to sit back and, yes, could you use Lugo would have been the other guy. Now, Lugo's been shaky. So now your backup plan has faltered the last couple of times. So now you're in a situation of, if you're not going to make a trade right now, which probably they're going to wait a couple more days, you have to keep Diaz in 9th and hope he figures it out. Maybe Seth figures it out, and those are you get your number 1 and number 2 guys back to being what they are. But if they continue, you got to make a move somewhere. And if you want to overpay Craig Kimbrell, if the Bryant, add Bryant Kimbrell, there goes a lot of prospect capital they don't want to trade. So it is a point of he has it in there, and we've seen it, throughout, 4 games against San Diego, he cleaned out 3. So it's almost like he doesn't go for the bad teams, but when you're facing a San Diego or you're facing a good team, he comes out and shuts the door down. But against the Pirates and against these trash teams, he just blows it all the time. Arizona, exactly. He blew 2 against Arizona. So yes, should there be a concern? Yeah, yes, but really, nothing you can do unless you want to overpay for a reliever right now. What your kind of options are.
Mets fan, let's hear it.
Oh, dear Lord. Okay. I hate to light the fire so early, but let's do it. So, Here's what I see from these last 3 appearances from Diaz. All right. I see 2 pieces of hard contact. I see 0 total barrels. I see a 45.6% whiff rate. And I see a chase rate of 32%. Now, what am I trying to say here?
About the walk rate.
What am I trying to say here?
How
What
many
am I
batters
trying to
do you
say? I'm trying to say that I have nothing but confidence in Edwin Diaz to lock down games. What don't I have confidence in? His confidence. His brain is probably the only problem right now, and the Mets need to be very careful. Now, I also want to clear something up about these breakdowns, because obviously this has gone completely off the rails in the past pretty much month, and since probably baseball has ever started. But I do not look at these results to say if a pitcher is lucky or unlucky. I don't use them as an excuse. No numbers here take anything away from the fact that 3 blown saves in a row is not good. I use these numbers to possibly defend the player's ability and project the next step in progression. That's what I see as it. I don't know what everybody else does. That's not my problem. Baseball's a funny game. Dumb shit is going to happen. Okay. It's how you recover after it when it's all said and done. And like I said, Diaz's ability to dominate in the 9th never went away. It's all mental at this point. It's all mental.
So it sounds to me like you want to send him down to AAA, huh, Mets fan?
Well, possibly. Might have to.
All right, Hayden.
I mean, he's already been
How many
DFA'd by
options?
Twitter, so he's already been DFA'd by Twitter.
He was
so.
gone in 2019 by Twitter also.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's already been
Big
gone.
time.
What is he
Gone.
still doing
Yeah.
here? I mean, come on now.
How'd he survive?
Twitter GMs.
Hayden, wrap it up. What are your thoughts on Diaz?
I mean, listen, with Edwin Diaz, it's very unfortunate. We all know how I felt about it due to my chair, but simply enough to say with Edwin Diaz, like everyone said, Edwin Diaz, he's really been struggling. Frank pointed out, do you really want to be the person why we don't make the playoffs for 2 years in a row? Last year, Edwin Diaz had 7 losses and over almost a dozen blown saves, if you theoretically want
2
to
years
count
ago.
like that. That is playoff contention right there. One of them being against the wild card team that made it in the Washington Nationals. So simply enough to say, coming back from the All-Star break, looking at the our spin rate coming back from MLB banning spider attack, spin rate went down a little bit, and then it started to fluctuate, hit the plateau, went up, down, started to fluctuate a little bit. Don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to figure that out. People are arguing, saying, oh, Diaz is good in all these situations. Well, according to his manager, Luis Rojas, after the Phillies series in May, Luis Rojas stated that he has his complexities when pitching in non-safe situations. So that's his boss saying it, not me, not Frank, not Bill, Steve, or John. That's Luis Rojas, his manager, who goes out there and watches him every day saying it. I'll give him this. The Jacob Stallings one, that was an unfair. I mean, personally, I don't know how many guys would have been able to hit that. That was right at his knees. I give props to Jacob Stallings for hitting that. But simply enough, coming in 3 games, 3 blown against a team like the Pirates or the Diamondbacks, it's very unfortunate. Simply enough, once the first Diaz save was blown, SNY and Sal and all those clowns were saying, do we trust Diaz? And I thought it was absurd. I thought it was saying it was one blown save. What can go wrong? Clearly, they know what they're talking about, I guess, in this scenario. But overall with Diaz, I don't want him to be the reason why we missed the playoffs. As soon as he goes up there, he gets something a little iffy. He hits a batter. That's one thing you never want to do as a relief pitcher is hit the first batter on the first pitch. That is one thing you never want to do, regardless if you're a relief pitcher or not. You let one person on, oh, well, then that starts to get everything iffy for Diaz. He gets nervous. He's a mental guy too, I'm sure, knowing his past history and what could lie ahead for him. I don't want to say anything, but Drew Familia has been nice these last couple starts. So I wouldn't mind if you want to put Familia in a couple extra starts to give Diaz some time. I mean, it's just when are you going to get realistic with Diaz? I mean, someone said to me earlier today on one of my streams saying maybe you should have put Diaz in the other day. We had a 7-0 lead. It would have got his confidence back. And I don't know how I feel about that. But, I mean, with Edwin Diaz, you got to start cracking down on this dude.
The
Look,
other
Edwin.
thing, too, one more thing is that Dave Giles absolutely screwed Edwin Diaz when they did not intentionally walk Jesse Winker. He struck out Freeman. Next batter, you could have struck out Freeman. Game is over. You don't go to 11 innings. But, I mean, regardless, they said, and Giles said the precedent we have is we don't intentionally walk guys, and we have faith in Edwin Diaz. We have faith in Edwin Diaz. Well, if you do, I mean, then he can't be giving up the hit or, have a runner on. So the managing didn't help him. And, people want to say the Stallings home run was unlucky. Well, loading the bases, I mean, what about that? There's no excuse for loading the bases. So it's just like we said about the mental makeup. You just worry that like, if his next save line does not go well, it could just keep getting worse and worse and worse. And that's just something that absolutely cannot happen. So I think that what happens that this year especially, there's no waiver trade deadline. So if you don't do something by July 31st, and if you start struggling again in September or something like that, you're done. You don't have other avenues you could pursue to go get help. So I just want to be prepared for all possible scenarios because Diaz could figure it out. He could be down it again. I know he could do that. But I just have to be ready for the worst case scenario because especially with the Mets, you just have to be ready for everything.
Diaz was pretty solid to begin the season. I mean, it's a small landing place. Like we said in the last stream, I feel like he's only special or, capable in very specific situations. We know only in save situations has he been very good this year. There can't be anyone on base, all this kind of stuff. He can only get 3 outs. He's not been good this last week. I'm not going to trade him like people are saying. That's not going to happen. But he should maybe be removed from the closer role for a little while. Look at Aroldis Chapman with the Yankees. He's got a much better track record in his career than Edwin Diaz has, and he was just removed from the closer role for a few days, and he seemed to bounce back. So I think that's what the Mets should maybe consider doing with Diaz. So not a good week for Diaz, and not a good week to hear about another Jacob Degrom injury. He's had so many nagging injuries. He had wrist stiffness in his pitching arm, so he missed his last start. He's been put on the 10-day injured list. So let's start. I was going to go to Mets talk, but let's start with Elias. Do you think Degrom will be ready to come off of the 10-day injured list when his time is up and make a start next week?
Man, I have a bad feeling it's going to take a little bit longer. Forearm tightness, it's always kind of tricky. The closer you get to that elbow, it's, I'm not saying, Tommy John or nothing like that, but you got to be careful with it. Now, what's fortunate is that most of his injuries previous this year have been swinging injuries, from swinging, obviously at the plate, which again, pitchers hitting is stupid, in my opinion. DH, please. I think he'll be here next year, but that's besides the point. But, a forearm tightness, any sort of tightness in the lower arm, it's concerning. So if he's ready, yeah, hopefully we can activate him, but I'm not going to rush him back. This is the ace of our team. He's going to be here for a while. Don't rush him back. And, worst case, have him miss next year. That would be absolutely terrible. So I'm hoping he can get better now, but I don't think he's going to be back. I would say very soon, but I don't think he's going to be back when he's eligible.
Let's go to Mets fan. What do you think about Jacob Degrom's most recent injury? You think he'll be ready to come off the 10-day injured list when his stint is over?
Muted.
I'm not muted now. Okay.
Oh, there you
go. Let me quote the man himself. This is getting old. No one knows DeGrom's body better than DeGrom. But the fact that we are starting to see injuries without him even pitching is very concerning. Maybe these are some of these that have lingered during outings, but the reality is we need this man every 5 days. And the sad reality is that since DeGrom throws so hard and he pushes so hard, it's very common for him to just tweak something very easily. And like we've seen, it's pretty much been a different injury every time. The bottom line is he's our franchise player. He's our leader. And whatever he needs right now, 100%, to be 100%, to take the mound every 5 days, he gets. End of story. I said this in our chat yesterday. I think August is probably going to be like either the first week of August or the second week of August is when he's probably going to come back. And you just don't know. One thing you can guarantee, you're going to see greatness on the mound every day time that DeGrom pitches. But one thing you can't guarantee is if he's healthy, and that's why you just cross your fingers every time he throws a pitch now. And it's not just you're looking for a good result. You know you're going to get a good result most of the time, but you're hoping he doesn't hurt himself. And that's basically all we're at right now. We need this man healthy, and it's so important for him to be on the mound every 5 days.
Let's go to Hayden. What do you think? DeGrom going to make his next start?
I mean, I really hope so. We know that he is the earliest eligible to come back Sunday. We did see him, I think it was today or the other day. He was playing, a nice little catch on the outfield. So that's a good sign. That shows that he's making progress, that, the Mets franchise and organization, they're willing to let him start the rehabilitation process. Obviously, we know that he has so many, issues, the flexor tendonitis, the right side, shoulder. He had 3 to 4 different things going on. Some of it was from swinging the bat, and then some of it was simply just soreness from throwing a bullpen session in the Pittsburgh series. He didn't even get a chance to throw, and I really am lucky that he never went to the All-Star game to pitch, because could it have been much worse? I don't think so. Forearm tightness, I don't really think it would have really came any earlier, in my opinion, but it's something concerning with DeGrom. He is your ace. And while this team has a high shot at making the playoffs this year, it really is a bummer to not see this dude go out there for at least 90% of his starts so far this season to help make this team into a playoff team. And we know, this Mets rotation has been holding down the fort. Tyler McGill, Robert Stock, Nogosek, all these AAA, AA guys who have been called up have really been holding down the fort, showing that they could help out this Mets rotation. But DeGrom, you got to get healthy, like we said. That's what I like about him, is he knows his body very well compared to other guys, who, I don't know, maybe let's say a guy like, Kevin Gausman, let's say he's on the bump and he's starting to feel a little stiffness or, a little cramp inside of his chest or something like that. Maybe he'll, say, I have one more batter. Let me try to face it. DeGrom, no, he'll go up. He'll meet with McCann. They'll have, Louis Rojas, Hefner come out to the mound, the training staff, and they'll have a little conversation on the mound. So that's what I like about DeGrom, is he knows his body well. He knows when he wants something. He's not going to get cocky. He's not going to sit out there on the mound and keep throwing when he knows something's wrong. He'll say something. But it comes to a point is, you're in a playoff contending team, and it just sucks to see the best guy who's having a Hall of Fame year right now not be able to go out there for 5 starts in a row because he has right side tightness or something weak or da-da-da-da-da. So it's unfortunate, but you know what? I'm hoping something goes on. I think there's much broader issues with the injuries. It's not just DeGrom. In terms of what it is, people make the argument it's because he's getting older, he's throwing harder. I think it's a little bit of both, obviously. Take it with both. I think the velocity increase definitely has something to do with it. And even the age, too, because let's be real, if he was 25 throwing 102, maybe his body would react to it a bit differently. But I think it's both of those reasonings. I'm not concerned. But hopefully he could be healthy going into the future. And the Mets training staff is very cognizant of DeGrom.
Frank, your thoughts on the latest injury to Jacob Degrom?
Yeah, the thing that concerns me the most is that we still do not know the origin of this injury. The fact that, again, Jacob Degrom said, I'm not going to the All-Star game because I've had so many little injuries this year. I don't want a chance in the game that doesn't matter. I don't want to risk getting hurt. And he got hurt anyway. And no one knows why. That's what I want to know mainly is why. And the fact that he was playing catch is a very good sign. The fact that he's throwing, that is a good sign. But I just don't think he is nor should make his next start because, again, whatever is in there, it has to stop. Like Mets fans say, like DeGrom says, it is getting old. And he is just so important that he's not worth risking it. He just really is not worth taking that chance of. He feels 80% of the way there. He feels 90% of the way there. Let's let him make the next start. Not worth it. Until DeGrom is 100% and is not going to have to miss any more starts, doesn't have to come out anymore, and has to be on this innings limit and all this other stuff, he should be out there. And the Mets should not have the need to bring back Jacob Degrom because they continue to not address the needs of the depth of the rotation. Because the fact that Jared Eichhoff's had to fill in and Robert Stock has had to fill in, and you're really putting yourself in jeopardy of losing games not only today but in the future, tiring out your bullpen. It shouldn't be, we have to bring back DeGrom so we can get Robert Stock out of the rotation. That's not what it should be. If you had gone and got some quality arms, you have all these injuries to hold down the fort until DeGrom is fully ready, you would not be in as much of a, oh, my God, we need DeGrom back scenario. So, you know what? You look at what Tampa did today. We have a need. We want another big bat. Let's get the bat now, not wait till the trade deadline. It's obvious to everybody the Mets need some more starting pitching. It's so obvious. You don't know what Carrasco is going to be. You don't know what Syndergaard is going to be. You don't know what the injuries are going to pop up throughout the course of the season. You need a starting pitcher weeks ago. I mean, it's like enough is enough already. Get some arms. This way Degrom can come back 100%, doesn't miss any more time.
To be fair, I think Sandy Alderson really did his best to build some starting pitching depth, but Carrasco obviously was injured way longer than we expected. We lost David Peterson. We lost Joey Lucchesi. We lost Jordan Yamamoto. I mean, you know, those guys.
I'm not about that. I agree with you. They did a great job in that regard. But if all of them get hurt, I mean, you're like, oh, well, we're out of guys now, but we tried. You know, like, no. I mean, like, when it gets to this point on a daily basis, I mean, you got to do something. I mean, come on now.
Yeah,
and fire the trainers as well.
I know. I think Ray Ramirez is still the Mets trainer. I don't know. Ray Ramirez has got to have some type of voodoo going on in that locker room because the Mets just continue to get hurt. Doesn't matter who is coaching them up. I think I got everybody there, right? Let's move on to the next question.
Andrew.
Oh, Andrew. I'm sorry. Andrew Acevedo. Go ahead. Please tell us about DeGrom's.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything's been said already. But yeah, I don't expect him to make his next start. I like Mets friend said, wait until August. And yes, you need to make a move. As Frank said, you got to get somebody here. I would have thought today you would have got at least somebody. Merrill, Kelly, maybe somebody lower than that, just to get a body in this rotation because you still have 2 TBAs. Carrasco gets rocked in his last rehab start. Yes, it's a rehab start. It really, the results shouldn't matter, but you still see that, and you're like, is he going to be ready to go next time through? You have a doubleheader on Monday against the Braves, so you're going to need arms to begin with. So, yeah, I don't expect Jake back. Obviously, wait until he's 100%, like we've all said, and then we're all sick of this. Oh, he's gone for one missed a start. Oh, now he's off. Now he's on the IL. So, let's just get Jake healthy, please.
Look, I think the Mets fans as a general population are very confused right now because we went from the first Sandy Alderson tenor where he wouldn't trade you a bag of peanuts for anybody. Then we went to Brody Van Wagenen, who was saying, take this prospect, take that one for Robinson Chirinos and Todd Frazier for rentals. And now we're back to Sandy Alderson. And you know what? I have faith in Sandy. I think he knows the market very well as any other GM. And he doesn't want to get robbed and sell off on our young prospects in the farm. He's trying to rebuild it. He'll strike when the iron's hot. Fortunately, these guys have done just enough to hold us down. And speaking of holding things down, what should the Mets now do with Francisco Lindor on the injured list? We saw Luis Guillorme go out, play shortstop, and make a couple errors, boot a couple balls. Previous to that, though, he's always been a sure-handed defender no matter where you put him. Came back, had a home run yesterday. So I still have faith in Guillorme, but what do you guys think? Let's start with Andrew Acevedo since you got skipped on the last one. Tell us, what should Mets do about shortstop until Francisco Lindor returns?
Yeah, I mean, the oblique's probably going to be about a month and a half. You're not going to see him. So, yes, Guillorme could be the easy, cheap option. You can easily just let him in. You know, you can run VR as well. You know, if Peraza gets healthy, you can have him as well. So, again, there are some options in-house. But, you know, there also is some external options. Yes, they're going to cost more. You look at guys like, obviously, Trevor Story, Javi Baez. I know some person here hates him.
I wonder who that is.
I wonder who that could be. I was looking also like Simmons from the Twins, but God, I was just looking at him before the stream. He is terrible, and he's not what he was. But, again, there is options you can do. I think they will stay pat and probably go the Guillorme VR, and if Peraza gets back, kind of committee for Lindor. I mean, obviously we hope he's back faster than that month and a half expected time frame, but right now you just got to sit back. I mean, if you want to go out and spend for a Story, for a Baez, you know, again, saying like we said, Sandy's going to penny pinch. He ain't going to overpay. He's not going to be, if somebody overpays in front of him, he's not going to match that offer unless he really wants that asset. And we all know shortstop going into the year wasn't a need. Now it's a need out of nowhere. So I don't expect them to go big game hunting, unless they call Colorado at like 250 and the price is low, and Sandy can say, hey, we'll give you so and 2 prospects, and here you go. You're going to let them walk for 10 minutes, you can't move them. So that's the only way I see Sandy upgrading big time, but I do think they'll probably go the Guillorme VR Peraza route.
Elias, what are you thinking? What should the Mets do about shortstop?
Well, I know what they shouldn't do, and that's get Javi Baez. Absolutely no. The only good that would bring is a great reaction from me. But moving on, yeah, comment. I'm going to bring up a guy who I mentioned on my stream last night, and that's Isaiah Kiner-Falefa from the Rangers. He's not a great player, but what he does bring you is elite defense, and he's not going to cost anything. and he can also play catcher. So let's say you need an emergency catcher. Boom, right there. I'm just kidding. I was thinking about him while I looked at his numbers. I'm good on him, honestly.
Yeah, we are fully satisfied with the catcher position here.
For me, I think, I would love Story as much as anyone else, but at the same time, though, what are you going to do with JD Davis when Lindor comes back? You got to have that bat in the lineup, unless he just falls off a cliff and, hasn't been awful since coming back defensively, but it sure hasn't been good. And earlier this year, he was horrid. That Chicago game, it kind of sparked the awful defense from that game when we got absolutely blown out. So, like, the thing for me is, what do I expect them to do? Probably go with the internal guys. Unfortunately, we don't really have any prospects to call up to play shortstop. Mauricio is years away, guys like that. You're not going to move, Brett Beatty to shortstop or something. That would just be hysterical. Maybe move Tomas Nido to shortstop. He's got the familiar with third base. He can frame some balls hit to him there. That could look good. No, I'm just kidding. But for me, you either get a cheap guy, like a defense first guy, or you get, because, Javi Baez, yes, he's a defense. He's good, good defensively, but he's also going to cost a lot prospect wise. That's another reason why I don't want him. He's not going to cost as much as he would have, a couple of years ago. He had a really good 2018 years like that. But for me, I expect them to, kind of stay in house. But I would love a Trevor Story trade.
Frank, what are you thinking?
So this is one that I am willing to wait until the last possible minute on the trade deadline, because as of right now, it doesn't look like Lindor is going to be out for the year. He should be back at some point. And while the rash of injuries was going on, VR did a nice job filling in mostly at third base for JD Davis. And I think that New York Mets could get by with Luis Guillorme. I think when you look at what happened in 2020, it's carried over this year. The guy gets on base. I mean, no matter what, Luis Guillorme is going to give you a tough at-bat. He's not going to strike out. And usually his defense is pretty good. He had that one bad game against Cincinnati, but usually his defense is pretty good, unless the ninth inning he's had a couple big errors. But I think that one guy, I would wait until the last minute of the trade deadline. If they cannot move him, and Elias is not going to like it, but I'm going to explain why before I go crazy. If you look at what Francisco Lindor brings to the table, the defense, the leadership, stats don't look great, but just the intangibles of being a winning player, the guy who is the closest to Francisco Lindor is Javi Baez. And the reason why is that you look at Javi, the numbers, oh my God, he strikes out so much. Oh my God, he chases so much. Oh, his average isn't good. His on-base percentage isn't good. Javi Baez still has 21 home runs. Don't forget 2018, Javi Baez was the runner-up to the National League MVP. Guy batted nearly 300, over 30 home runs, 115 RBI, something crazy like that. Followed up with another amazing year in 2019. 2020, 2021 have been down years. But you'll still have just as good defense as Lindor. He steals bases great, even though they probably won't send him. But also, I mean, what Javi Baez does, just that leadership quality. I mean, Javi Baez is a guy who can ride the troops. When Edwin Diaz is struggling, when Lugo is struggling, Baez can go to the mound and talk to those guys just like the way Lindor has and really get them going, just to fill in for that void. And also, Javi Baez, he could move around the field, no problem. You need to move to third, move to second, move to center field. He does all of that great, and he's just a winning player. He makes plays that don't show up in the stat sheet. We saw that debacle in Pittsburgh when they got caught in the pickle and Javi Baez reaches base, or they call him El Mago for a reason, the magician, because Javi Baez does plays that the normal player doesn't make. Again, it doesn't show up in a stat, it does show up in a metric, but he just does so many good things to be a winning player. And with him having a down year, and with people saying he sucks like some people, if the cost is not bad on an expiring deal, the Cubs have to get rid of him, right? At the last minute, if no one puts in a good offer, you could get him with that, maybe given like a number 9 prospect, number 11 prospect, he would fill in perfectly for Lindor.
Can I say one thing about Baez? I'll make it quick. My issue with him is I have a feeling that the league's figured the guy out. I mean, just don't pitch him in the strike zone, strikeout.
Yeah, I mean, you would hope his strikeouts are up more than normal. You would hope that maybe somehow Hugh Quanta, and all these other guys could figure it out and get a better approach for him. But seeing the way Alonso chases the high fastball, seeing the way McCann chases, seeing the way all these other guys chase, I have no confidence they could pull that off. So, but I think that
something happened.
No, I'm just looking at Javi Baez in 2019, 28 OAA. Holy shit!
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean,
living shit.
his defense is tremendous as well. So he would fill in really nicely for defense and dingers. I mean, that's what I'm give. And again, just that leadership that does show up in his strikeouts. I think again, when you look at Lindor, I really believe that Saturday meltdown between Lugo and Diaz doesn't happen if Lindor is there. I feel like he would just the Puerto Rican connection. He would just get it. So, and I also think that Lindor and Baez would help each other. I think that those guys, since they're such good friends, their Lindor struggles are mental. I feel like Javi could kind of unlock that next level to get Lindor back to where he was once they're fully healthy together.
And McNeil being hurt too, so who knows about McNeil? You could put him at second.
McNeil's hurt?
No, the hammy, we don't know. It was precautionary, right, but who knows with the Mets and precautionary.
Hamstrings, Mets, and injuries don't work well together.
No, they usually don't. Hayden, what do you think? Are you going to pull a big trade to get a shortstop right now that can eventually move to a different position when Lindor returns, or are you good with Guillorme?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's the Mets have, the bench mob has been quite a performance regardless of besides Lindor, but for when pretty much everyone but Lindor on the team was hurt, the bench mob really showed up into effect. Second base, third base. I mean, you can go with an in-house rule. You can go with the Luis Guillorme. You can go with the Jose Peraza. You can go with the Jonathan VR. Maybe you could look in the farm system, try to see, what's going on down there. Not a whole lot, though, unfortunately. And then obviously you have your outhouse categories. Trevor Story's been an option Trevor Story's been an option. We know Javier Baez has been an option. But my problem with, a guy like Trevor Story specifically is, he's technically a rental in terms of this because Lindor, he's probably going to be back September is my thing. And then obviously, do you really want to have a whole lineup adjustment coming September when you're going towards that playoff push? I don't really want that on this team. And I think Francisco Lindor, his defense has been very, very important for this team. We even saw pretty much the second game since he got hurt with the Reds. Luis Guillorme made 2 errors, 2 terrible errors. And then talking about errors in defense, J.D. Davis is at third. I don't trust J.D. Davis at third defensively. Having Francisco Lindor next to him really gave that cushion on the left side of the infield. Lindor would go above and beyond defensively. Guillorme, Villar, sure, they're all right defense, but they're not going to make these acrobatic, crazy gold glove plays like Lindor. So the point that I'm trying to make is Lindor would go out of his way to help out J.D. Davis. And in terms of J.D. Davis's stance, he would make J.D. Davis feel much better mentally, obviously, and help him out physically in terms of ground ball coming or whatever. But having Guillorme and Davis next to each other, I don't really trust that going ahead. And we know defense is very important in the Red Series, obviously. In terms of if they're going to make a trade, can you carry it out for another month? I mean, the second half is the biggest push. We're in a close division, like I always say. Division or sit on your couch in October. So do you really want to take this risk and go with the bench mob? They've been doing a fine job for the first month of the season or second month of the season or whatever it is by now. I can't even remember anymore, but they've been carrying down the fort. So who can't say they can't carry down the fort in the second part of the season? Hopefully they can. But there's just so much to do with Lindor. The defense is important. I don't see him coming back till September, really. I mean, like we said, there's so many options. Trevor Story, Javier Baez. I'm not really too big on Trevor Story, like I said, because then you're going to have to move him around, make these lineup adjustments. And like everyone said with Lindor, the chemistry is surreal with Lindor. He really is just hypes up this team. Like he's literally like the second manager in disguise, like Frank Kana was pointing out. He helps out Diaz, he helps out, these defensive moves, where to shift on the field, where to go. He's just so involved. And I think he just brings that great leading presence that he can still do in the dugout. But I just feel on the field, it's much more. And I hope we can get him back soon. But right now, I think the bench mob can carry it down.
Mets fan, final thoughts on Lindor.
All right. Well, I think I just need to bring in some sense of reality to some Mets fans out there. For all the batting average lovers, Lindor is going to flip you off for the rest of this segment. Okay. So I don't think people realize how important Francisco Lindor is. This is a generational defensive wizard, not only has the statistical range of legends like Cal Ripken, guys like Brooks Robinson, Ozzie Smith, guys like that. But he also makes this team's defense a machine. The Mets currently this year are 7th in OAA, compared to since OAA was recorded, we are dead last with a whopping negative 122 OAA. Okay, so yeah, there's a difference. We missed Francisco Lindor. Now, how do they hold down this position? I think what we have right now is fine. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm not very high on getting Trevor Story, and I think VR and Guillorme will be fine holding down the fort for now. I know everyone panicked after Guillorme's rough night in the field, but I will tell you this. If I see anyone slandering Luis Guillorme, you might have to change your mail address. That's all I'm saying. Respect your legends, people.
Oof,
Can I say one more thing about Lindor? The thing about his defense too, like he is a generational defender. Usually you see defensive players, make a lot of flashy plays, but also commit a lot of errors, like a Fernando Tatis. Francisco Lindor is ridiculously fundamentally sound. Like he makes every play that he should make and also makes the crazy plays. That's what I love about his glove so much. And
he flips off umpires.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I think that just about does it for that topic.
What do you think about Guillorme? I was told he always sucked. It's just a goal.
Oh, you know what? I think Guillorme has a place on this team. He's a very good defensive player, 99.9% of the time. That was the first time I've ever seen him look that rattled in the field. He's not someone that I want up in an RBI situation. He's not someone that I really want pinch hitting very often, unless it's maybe to lead off an inning. But, he has a place on this team. He's just not my go-to guy in a big situation. It's either VR or Peraza, or even of late, if McCann's coming off the bench. He's been great in pinch hitting situations this year. I know, Mets fan, you love that one. But, hey, I know I sometimes get a little irrational with my tweets. And, if Guillorme has a mess up, I'm going to get on him. But he has a place on this team. He's absolutely valuable. And I'm fine with him holding down shortstop and mixing in VR and Peraza there as well. So let's move on, and we're going to start with Hayden on this one because we know he loves a good fight. What are your guys' feelings about Marcus Stroman after the little brouhaha in Pittsburgh? Hayden, start us off. You're muted.
Yeah, I know. Boy, I was at work and everyone thought I was like dying or something. It was very weird. First of all, I was confused what was going on because first, just to say something else for a minute, the camera crew for Pittsburgh did a terrible job. I'm just going to flat out say that. But in terms of the brawl and stuff, I don't really know what to say. Stroman wasn't really having the best of his performances, obviously, especially a team like the Pittsburgh Pirates. Simply enough, Migowski, I guess, is one of those non-Met players who become our enemy, I guess. We always have one of those guys, whether it's someone on the Orioles, Diamondbacks. Well, now we got our guy for the Pirates. He really liked to own us in this Pittsburgh Mets series, but simply enough, I'm always down to a good old brawl. Obviously, as no one hurt or anything like that, no suspensions, obviously. But sadly, it couldn't fire enough the team. We still got the loss, and I was a little excited to see the brawl. I thought it would fire up Stroman. But sadly, he didn't really pitch much after that. And then simply enough the offense as well. Hopefully it would fire this team up, fire up Rojas. And that's one thing I think Rojas is good at. Rojas is awesome at firing himself up, just not his players. And I don't know if we're getting into the category of the foul, fair ball play. I'm going to leave that one out for a minute because we'll probably get into that. But, sadly, it couldn't fire up this team. I'm down to an old classic brawl. That Pittsburgh series was just a mess. That's from the Phillies, bro.
Terrible form, dude.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I said, I'm always down to a good old brawl as a baseball player. I mean, I've never been involved in a brawl, luckily, although I lose my stuff sometimes in my head. Sadly, the Mets couldn't get their job done. Are we touching on the fair foul ball, or is that later?
No, we're just going with Stroman right now.
All right. But yeah, Stroman though, in terms of yesterday's performance.
In terms of his whole action in the Pittsburgh series when the bench is cleared, so
yeah, I mean, like I said, sadly it couldn't fire up Stroman, nor it could fire up the offense.
Frank, what are you thinking about Stroman after that? Did he show something to you? How do you feel?
No, he didn't really show me much because the same thing happened in Arizona where Stroman was pitching and then got into another little brawl or whatever. And the thing is that there's such a I don't know if you want to call it a hypocritical way that the philosophy is in baseball right now, but when these hitters like Acuna and Tatis Jr. do these whole big celebrations, all this crazy showboating when they hit a home run in a meaningless game, Stroman shows a little bit of flair when he gets a strikeout. He does a little skip or a little whatever, a little celebration, a little yell. And these players, they take it personal. The guys in Arizona want to fight him because Stroman gets fired up. The guys in Pittsburgh want to fight him because he gets fired up. But when these guys do backflips and Tatis is Euro stepping to third base, not a big problem. Just show us up. Who cares? Acuna's saying it's over, against Jacob Barnes and it may. I just don't understand, what is the standard that now when Stroman wants to show a little bit of swagger, let the kids have fun, express yourself, now it has to become a big fight. So I just don't get that. If that's what it takes for Stroman to be successful and pitch the way like he did on Cincinnati, show off all you want. I don't really care because you know what? James McCann's got your back. No one's going to touch you. He is a good – that is what McCann does well. He protects his players. So I think that Stroman, that's who he is. He's very, he's expressive. Like if they told Stroman, pipe it down a little bit, cool down, be very calm, be a robot, I don't think Stroman would be nearly as effective. So if that's what he has to do to give us good outings, so be it.
Elias, what do you got?
Yeah, John Nagowski, whatever the hell his name is, fucking sensitive as shit, man. Seriously, it's like he got happy because you lined out, and now you're pissed about it, and you're you want to fight? It's a fucking clown, man. Seriously, and Stroman, I like the attitude of him. He's not taking shit from anyone. He's probably like, being a smaller guy his whole life, he has the whole height doesn't measure height thing. He probably had to deal with a lot of people who like, making him fun for his size. You can't be tough, being his size and whatnot. So, having that attitude, I'm not going to take that from you, just because, oh, fuck you, don't celebrate that. And I agree with Frank. Like, why can't everyone just celebrate? Why do we need all these stupid rules? If you do something good, celebrate it. You should be happy. It's a game where you fail, especially at the plate where you fail most of the time. Be happy when you succeed. And John Nagowski is freaking sensitive, and it's annoying.
Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, it's what Marcus Stroman does. That's what he is. He plays with he plays with emotion. That's what he is. And again, I had no problem with it. Again, Nagowski wants to get sensitive. The second team that Stroman's pissed off. I do think he'd be, once he retires, he'd be a great wrestler. He gets heat like no other. So again, it's what he is. And if people get pissed off, people get pissed off. Like we said, James McCann's gonna have his back. It's what he is. And if that makes him go out the next start and go 8 shutout innings, then maybe that woke him up. Because he did go through a little bit of stretch before the start where we were struggling a little bit. Maybe this wakes him up, and like we saw in Cincinnati yesterday, goes out and throws a gem. So maybe this bounces him back to being that first half Stroman.
Absolutely. Mets fan, Stroman, how you feeling about him?
I mean, I had the same reaction as I had when we traded for him. Stroman is the man, all right? The energy that this guy brings to the team is what we need. And now we all know that Stroman is 5'7", and he uses that as a chip on his shoulder to silence his doubters. I mean, that's what he does. Now, the fact that he's so confident, it rubs people off the wrong way sometimes. We saw that this week. I mean, that's an obvious. Like that thing in Colorado when he pointed to the glove, oh, it's gold, and everyone thought he was looking at the Rockies dugout, but no, he was looking at his own dugout. There's so many times where he celebrates to fire up his team, and the opposing player thinks he's screaming at them. I mean, there's just so many misunderstandings sometimes, I feel like, that are going on with Marcus Stroman. He's an emotional guy. That's who he is. He's not Jacob Degrom. He's a different type of guy. And for that, he's exactly what the team needs. He belongs here. He even said it today. It's not a team. It's a family. We say it all the time. This team always needs the big hit, the big moment. And Stroman did that yesterday with 8 scoreless innings. So he's such an out of the ordinary type of guy. And that's why he belongs in New York. I have nothing but respect for Stroman's mindset and his game. You do you, King. You do you. Love Stroman.
Yeah, you know what? I think it was a misunderstanding between the two. Stroman was flexing, but not toward Nagowski, and Nagowski thought he was, and that's the simple end of it. You know what? The going to the Rojas thing the next day or on Sunday, someone within the Pirates organization actually was quoted as saying that the Mets were sleepwalking until he got thrown out of that game. So I can only assume that Stroman and that whole bench is clearing ball also maybe gave a little bit of juice and life to the team. So I'm happy about that. Hayden, you had your hand up. You want to say something else?
Yeah, no, I misinterpreted the question. I thought we were referring to just the incident itself. But yeah, I mean, like everyone kind of said, it pretty much fired up this team. This team was kind of really having, a struggling, past couple games, everything, whether it was injuries, performances, it really helped to fire up this team. And in terms of, nowadays, 2021, you have, more your Gen Z players who we even have players now that were born in the 21st century, playing like Wander Franco or, those guys like that. And then you have more your old school type of fans who, prefer, more of the common dignity way, as a former baseball high school athlete, I could say, even when I'm up at the dish, if I get a walk, you see me on my streams, I'm all like crazy. But I think as long as you're not directing it at someone, if you just do it to yourself, like when I have a pitcher, like when my pitcher's on the mound, he goes like, let's go. Like, as long as he's not like saying, oh, screw you, you struck out, you suck. Well, then that's fine. But as long as, you're being, I don't want to say respectful, but as long as you're not directing it towards someone, I think you're fine. And Stroman in no way was directing it towards anyone besides his own team and himself.
Yeah, and you know what else has been fine has been J.D. Davis's bat. He has come off the injured list and been hot. 2 home runs in his first game back, I believe, and really has been hitting the ball, seeing the ball well. So my question to you guys, does J.D. Davis hitting as well as he has been since he returned change your opinion on what the Mets should do at the trade deadline? Let's start off with Elias.
Yeah, I think this really does change it because, you have options out there to upgrade at third base, but it's not a need. It's a luxury kind of trade. JD Davis is, whenever this dude's in the lineup, this team hits well. 2019, he came in, hit well. The team hit well when he started playing better, started getting more playing time. Towards the end of the year, you saw him, his playing time kind of diminished with Todd Frazier back. They tried to get JD in the lineup more. Offense played well. The second half stretch, we all remember that. That was a great stretch. And first game back, 2 home runs. His defense is clearly the issue, but offense is more important than defense, especially at third base. So, as awful as he is out there, and, believe me, I scream at my TV every time he takes 5 minutes to get rid of the ball as well. But he is too good. And he's having, honestly, I know the sample size is, obviously way smaller than a Chris Bryant, but recently, he's just been so hot that you just need, and even before he got hurt, he was playing really well at the plate. So you just need this guy's bat in the lineup. Would I be mad if they, tried to upgrade a third baseman? No, but I don't want to see JD Davis get traded. If you're going to get another third baseman for defensive reasons, keep JD Davis on the bench. Next year, make him your DH.
True, especially given the fact Brian in particular is a rental, Javi Baez is a rental, Trevor Story, all rentals. So It's almost like, how much do you want to give up for a guy that's basically taking another person's position for the rest of the season, and then you might have to watch him leave in free agency.
And it's not necessarily a hole. That's the thing. It's just a luxury.
Exactly. Mets fan, what are you feeling about J.D. Davis and how he's been hitting at the plate?
I mean, it's great to have JD back, even though these could be the last 7 days we see him in a Mets uniform. Who knows? But this team needed a true right-handed bat for a long part of the season, and he supplies it. I mean, you have Pete Alonso and you have James McCann, but so his defense is definitely a problem, but he would make a perfect DH for a contending team in the American League right now. Just saying. But for the time being, his bat keeps him in the lineup, and we need offense. I don't know if you guys have heard. There's been some times where we're not scoring runs. So we need J.D. Davis as of right now.
Andrew, what do you think about J.D. Davis and how he's been hitting at the plate?
My opinion's still the same. I think you're still going to improve. And I've said it before. This bench, look at the teams that go to the World Series. The Dodgers, the Rays, they all have different lines. Their benches are elite. And like we said, JD is going to be probably our DH next year. So, yes, JD will probably play against lefties. Maybe you take Dom out. And if Dom's not raking it how he is now, against lefties, Dom can go on the outfield. Yes, you don't want to see JD out there, but the Dodgers all the time, they have their left-handed lineup and they have their right-handed lineup. So if you're telling me late in the game you can pull J.D. Davis off your bench against the Brad Hand with the Nationals, get back in the race, or anybody with the Braves or Will Smith in their bullpen, and in a big spot you can go off the bench and go J.D. against the lefty, and then add a third baseman, whoever that may be, for defense, and be able to still have his bat on the bench. Am I trading J.D.? No, but will Sandy do it? Because ever since he's gotten back, he's tried to ship him out of here. I would if Sandy's probably going to move him, but if he's still here and then get the third baseman for a lower price, JD would be an elite bench bat, and it would deepen this bench, and you can get better defensively. So has he changed my opinion to what the Mets are going to do? No, it's JD Davis being JD Davis, just dongs. He hits, horrible defensive. So he's going to be the DH next year. So
very good, Frank. What do you think about JD Davis? Has you changed your opinion on what the Mets should do at the trade deadline?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what JD does doesn't change my opinion, but what happened with Lindor and Degrom and just Robert Stock and Eichhoff, that's changed my opinion. I mean, I really think the focus has to be on pitching, the bullpen, rotation, maybe shortstop, whatever. But JD Davis, the thing that I'm looking at right now with him is that what have the Mets really struggled with this year offensively? We know it's runner scoring position, and it's against left-handed pitching. In 2019, J.D. Davis was excellent against left-handed pitching. That is really where he excelled. 2020, not as much. This year, in a very, very, very small sample size, not as much. So we talk about the Mets really need a right-handed bat. One of the reasons for that is to beat up on left-handers. And if J.D. is not crushing left-handers, he doesn't have necessarily the same value. But what I can't figure out is why do the Mets want to get rid of him? If Brody got you a good player, why can't you just be like, wow, Brody finally did one good move, let's keep him? Why do we have to get rid of him? I just don't get that. And the main reason why I don't want to get rid of J.D. Davis is, besides how good his bat is, how much he's loved in that clubhouse. J.D. Davis is such a team player. The way he celebrates for other guys, you don't teach that. I mean, very few players could really just celebrating the success of others. And I think that that's one of those things that, again, doesn't show up in the stat, doesn't show up in a metric, but it leads to winning teams. It leads to a winning culture. So I think that J.D. Davis, his defense, it's not as bad as people think. We talk about Guillorme had that really bad game in Cincinnati, and that was kind of admiration. That one game that JD had Chicago, I hope that was just a one-game thing, because other than that, he, for the most part, he gets it done. And if he doesn't lane games, you just go to Luis Guillorme. I think that his bat is so good that that's probably the scenario you have to go. And there's no really need to get rid of J.D. Davis, who has years of control, get rid of a Mark Vientos and maybe even a JT Ginn to get Chris Bryant. I mean, I think that if JD's swinging the bat, well, why? Why do you have to get rid of him? That's the thing that I just don't understand, is that we all have the idea of why the Mets want to give him, because he's a Brody guy, but no one actually says why. Whenever they're looking at a position player, they can play third base. They can play third base. Whit Merrifield, Adam Frazier, Kyle Seager, whoever it is always going to play third base, going to play third base. Josh Donaldson. It's why? I just don't understand what it is that Sandy Olson and this whole front office have against J.D. Davis.
Hayden, what are you thinking about J.D. Davis right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough to say what's going on with J.D. Davis. Simply enough, when we picked him up in the Houston trade, to be honest with you, I think none of us here thought that he would have been the everyday third baseman. Obviously, we all assumed he would be a bench bat, as he was expected to be. And then obviously he came in that national series, and to quote him, that's when he really realized, hitting 2 home runs against his son, Patrick Corbin, that he realized that he was an above average hitter. And I think, don't get me wrong, we all know J.D. Davis's bat it's good. It's just whether his defense at third base is serviceable for him to be in this lineup. We all know how important defense is, especially wanting to be a playoff team. We all know it. We all have different ways to say it. Defense is important. In the Chicago series, the domino effect, J.D. Davis makes an error, that loads the bases, base hit, double, and then that clears the bases, all because J.D. Davis made that bobbling error, or he double clutches the ball in his glove, or he takes an extra step, or he trips over his foot and then releases, or crow hops too much. That's a thing with J.D. Davis. He's not. It depends as where you're going to throw him. I really like his bat in the lineup. I think he really, he goes opposite field. He hits the ball well. He drives the ball well. and I really enjoy his bat in the lineup. It just comes to a point: is that defense and those errors that are going to give up runs, is that going to affect him every day in the lineup? Obviously, if we have the option, screw the contract. Talking about the players' abilities physically, I would prefer Brian over Davis. Who wouldn't? I mean, I believe Brian has won a Gold Glove or two once. Who wouldn't mind him? But I just think it's going to come down to is Davis. It would suck to see him in terms of just as a player overall with that great chemistry everyone was talking about. It would suck to see Davis back in the bench because I think that would really upset him. Let's be real. I think he enjoys being in this everyday lineup, but I think you got to give him that ultimatum of, you got to start getting things together at third base or you are going to be a bench bat.
All right, so pretty mixed, but for the most part, sounds like let's ride with JD Davis for the time being, ride that hot bat, and I tend to agree with that. It would be nice to get someone that can field the ball a little bit better, give me a little more confidence, especially come, playoff and pennant race time. But I think the Mets might have some in-house solution to that where you have JD Davis's bat in the game for the first couple innings, and then you eventually go to a guy like Luis Guillorme or Jonathan Villar to fill in for him in the later innings. But hey, you know what? We got 8 days until the trade deadline. This team could look very, very different by then. Who's been looking very different since the second half? That's Michael Conforto. Conforto is on fire right now. The game-winning home run against the Pirates on Sunday continued his streak into Cincinnati. What do you guys think? Is the old Michael Conforto finally back? Let's start with Andrew.
So we're back to streaky Michael Conforto. So this is going to be his hot month. No, it's great to see Mikey back hitting the ball, driving the ball. His ABs have been a lot better. There we go. Mets fan has left the building. Again, this is a lot. His swings have been a lot better the last couple weeks. Seeing the power come back. But again, this is what Michael Conforto is. He was terrible the whole first half. He'll get hot for 2 months. Maybe get this offense going with Alonso and McNeil getting hot. He'll get hot, win a bunch of games, but then there could be a chance in September he goes quiet. That's just what he is. I know the metrics or whatever. I know Mets fans about to totally disagree, but it's how the eye test is. Conforto, when he's hot, you can't get him out. But when he's cold, I could strike out Michael Conforto when he's cold. So it's just the point of, is Conforto back? Is kind of like a hard question to answer. Is this the hot Michael Conforto? Yes.
Mets fan, do you want to retort to that?
Is Michael Conforto back? Yes, he's back. That's Michael Conforto. You know why I know that's Michael Conforto? Because when he puts the ball in play in 3 different at-bats in one game, ready? One goes to left field, one goes to center field, and one goes to right field. Michael Conforto is a good baseball player, okay? And he's not streaky, Frank, about sports, all right? This has been proven. Don't make me pull up the analysis spreadsheet. I showed it to you. You saw it. With that being said, I've never seen a hitter get screwed more than Michael Conforto, but that's a different discussion. He's starting to get back to that mindset of pulling the high ball and pushing the low ball. Love what I'm seeing. The Conforto slander ends now. Debate a wall. I don't care.
All right. Let's go to Elias. What are you thinking about Conforto?
Yeah, this is hot Michael Conforto. Just like Andrew said, he's streaky, but the problem was his cold streak, it lasted longer and obviously injury happened. So he's going to have a great month this up, August. I think he's going to have a huge August, had a really solid July as well. Since that All-Star break, man, he has been coming in clutch. Won us that Pittsburgh game. And, you combine, the Michael Conforto for the first half, who was playing really good defense and finally now starting to hit. You got a really, really good right fielder. And, hopefully his numbers aren't too good that he's still affordable. But, contract aside, player-wise, I think Michael Conforto is going to have a huge couple months with the Mets now.
All right, very nice. Frank, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think Conforto is back. I mean, this is the Michael Conforto that we all know. He hits the big-time home run against Pittsburgh, 2 home run game against Cincinnati. Then he goes 0 for 4 and 0 for 5. Oh, but he got unlucky. He was hitting the ball 107 off the bat, 103 off the bat, 105 off the bat, right out of glove. And the only way that Michael Conforto gets screwed is when Michael Conforto screws himself. Michael Conforto deciding to pull the ball 107 into a glove instead of going the other way at 90 miles out for exit velo for a base hit shows how stubborn of a hitter that he could be. He is so focused on, I could either try to hit a home run with 5 guys on that side of the field, or I could go the other way and get a single with 1 guy on the side of the field, 2 guys on the side of the field, but I'm going to go after the one that has 5 guys over there. So I just think that if Michael Conforto, again, in 2020, the reason why he had so many more hits, more RBIs, was because he used the opposite field more. He didn't pull the ball. He didn't overswing. He took a half swing. He got a little bloop. And those bloops led to really good things for the Mets offense. But when he lines out to the second baseman in the shift, that does nothing. That does not help this team at all. That's not a productive at bat. If Conforto would just use the opposite field more, he would be such a better player on a consistent basis and not have to get unlucky. Michael Conforto screws Michael Conforto.
Hayden, your thoughts on Conforto? Is he back?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the first couple of bats he had coming back from the whole injury stunt, he was a little sketchy. Obviously, he didn't really get much playing time this season. We know whether it was the injuries or just lack of production in the first half, and then kind of that Pittsburgh series kind of really brought back those memories of that sweet swing Conforto. He hit that ball well, gorgeous swing, and he hit it to really dead center, one of the deepest parts in PNC Park. So that's definitely a tall task. Obviously, Conforto, he's not going to hit a homer every at bat, like we said. His power's nice. I adore power on this team. Conforto could be a great guy to offer power. Simply enough, like Frank was saying, if he can go the opposite field, beat against the shift, that always works. Those BABIP singles, BABIP RBIs always work for the most part, depending on obviously who you have on runners in scoring position or not. But I'm hoping Conforto could be back. It is a free agency year for him. We know he's a Scott Boras client. Not the best of agents to have, to be honest, as I'm sure Nationals fans could agree very much. So it's going to be tough. Hopefully the second half is going to be something with him. I'm hoping he could stay hot for at least 85 to 90% of the time of his at-bats. But, simply enough, it's going to be time with Conforto. And hopefully, I noticed comparing to other guys, a lot of these guys came back from the injury list and they started to play nice. I mean, he went 8 for 21 at first. He did raise his batting average. First, he was below the Mendoza line. He rose that OPS. So I'm hoping Conforto could still stay hot. And obviously, those 2 home runs in that game and then the clutch. I'm hoping to see clutch Conforto back.
And speaking of coming back nice off the injured list, Jeff McNeil has been looking pretty good lately. Now, I don't want to take too much credit, but after I disparaged his name on Twitter, he's pretty much been on fire. So you guys can all thank me in the chat section with a subscription to my YouTube channel. It's not a big deal, really. I'm happy to do it for the Mets. But he's been on fire. Jeff McNeil's really been killing it lately. So what do you guys think on Jeff McNeil's hot streak right now? Is he back? Let's start with Mets talk.
All right. Well, listen, my Jeff McNeil is one of my favorite players on this team. I'm hoping he can get some power back. We know, as we always say, 2019, the end half of the season, he kind of did something with his rotator cuff, which those are pretty well known for power. Obviously, he hit 23, 24, whatever home runs in 2019. So hopefully we can see some glimpses of that. But I've been seeing some good glimpses of Jeff McNeil. Ever since coming back, he kind of got into a little iffy, but he's starting to get back in these last couple series. He's having good at bats. Even when it's an 0-2 at count, he'll just bloop the ball the other way. And that's what I really adore of Jeff McNeil. He'll hit these BABIP singles. He'll go the other way. Screw what the count is. 0-1, 2-2, he'll do it. He's chilled out with swinging on the first pitch, which I guess it's beneficial to him now. I don't know. He changes his batting stance quite a bit. I was watching the other game where he noticed his stance was a little bit more upwards. So I don't know if him changing his stances are going to have to be a huge partake in his performance. I don't think it will. But, at first, Jeff McNeil in the first half of the season, he was just going up there. And in the past, he'd just throw the bat and he would find the ball and make a way in the field. And then he just became an exit velocity victim. So I'm hoping that's not the case for McNeil. His defense is stellar. He did make an error, sadly, but you know what? Not going to kill him for that. I still think his defense is tremendous. I think he could easily be a Gold Glover. I think he will have some competition, obviously, with Jay Cronenworth in the Crone Zone, obviously, in San Diego. But that bat is really something in this lineup. I simply said, bat him third. Mets fan and I were conversing about it. Switch Dom with him. He switched him, and what did he do? He went back-to-back after Alonso. So I'm really liking McNeil batting off third. And, we're just going to have to see what it takes with Jeff McNeil, obviously. And yeah, that's really all I got with McNeil.
Elias, what are you thinking about Jeff McNeil's recent hot streak?
Yeah, I love it, man. And the thing with McNeil, when he was struggling, it was the most infuriating because, he's trying to be a player that he simply is not. The McNeil I look for is 2018, early 2019 Jeff McNeil. Get the barrel on the bat and the ball will find some grass. That batting average contact hitter. I know batting average isn't everything, but, I'm cool with, him hitting some home runs, no doubt about it. But I would rather I'd rather to see him hit, 330 with 20 home runs than 280 with 30 runs. Jeff McNeil's not here to hit home runs. He's here to get base hits. He was almost like the face of the contact hitters, in baseball. He'd always talk about, just trying to get the barrel on the ball, not trying to hit home runs. And then he just kind of went away from that. It's also weird not, seeing him play a bunch of different positions. 2019, it'd always be, wonder where McNeil's going to play today. So I think, playing consistently at second base has helped him a lot too. Very good defense there. You can obviously move him to the outfield if you need to. I'm surprised they haven't. I think if he was here when the whole team was injured and we had outfields of Khalil Lee, Janeshwi Fargas, and Cameron Maben, he would probably gotten some time out in the outfield. So yeah, Jeff McNeil, I'm confident he can be back to kind of his normal form of being that elite contact hitter. And I really look forward to watching him this second half.
Frank, what are you thinking about Jeff McNeil's hot streak? Is he back?
Yeah, he's looking much closer to the Jeff McNeil we were looking for and hoping for. I'm seeing less of the Ichiro effect where he's swinging and he's already at first base. I mean, there were pitches when McNeil was struggling where it was a pitch right down the middle and he was whiffing on it and was halfway down the line. Like, Jeff McNeil has such good bat-to-ball skills that he doesn't miss pitches down the middle. So he's gotten much better at that. Hits are up. He's putting the ball in play more often. I just feel like his chasing is getting a little better. His whiff is definitely getting better. So I think that Jeff McNeil is most certainly getting closer to the guy we know. He has a hit streak right now on 11 games around that ballpark. So he's just doing what McNeil does. Get a few hits, don't strike out too much, put together quality ABs, fight off some tough pitches. So he looks a lot closer to the Jeff McNeil that we all love and that I expect that he will be.
Mets fan, give us some of those analytics. What's McNeil doing right now?
I'm actually trying to make sure what the actual hitting streak is because it was getting mixed around on the broadcast all.
I'm pretty sure it was 11, but I know I wasn't sure if that was confirmed in error.
Yeah, I thought it was 11 too.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I believe it is 11.
They counted that error.
Recount. Yeah, it is 11. Okay. I think the only man to thank is our lovely host, Tony Metro. This man's external player motivation skills on Twitter are beyond elite, very underrated. But Jeff McNeil is back, and I hope when he left yesterday's game, it wasn't serious. But with our luck this year, he'll probably show up tomorrow with one leg. So, but 11-game hitting streak with Jeff McNeil. He's not trying to hit the crap out of the ball like he was in the first half. He's surveying the field, and it's bat to ball, just like his Ted Williams self. Man is spraying the field. He's just being Jeff McNeil. No complaints. Love it.
And Andrew, why don't you wrap it up for us? What are you thinking about Jeff McNeil's hot streak?
Yeah, I mean, again, like everybody's saying it, we don't need the power of McNeil. We just need the guy that's going to just dump balls in the left center field. Go when the shift's on, he's starting to go the other way, back to going the other way, beating the shift. That's the best version of Jeff McNeil the Mets need. They got the power with Dom and Pete and Mikey. They need the guy who – and please, can we take some more pitches, please, in a big spot? You know, I get jump the first time through. You want to jump on the first pitch, jump on it. But when there's second and third after Pete strikes out again, can you please at least take a pitch to see this guy? Besides the point. Again, when he's going great, he's using the whole field, dumping balls. If the power comes, that's a bonus. That's not what I need Jeff McNeil to do. I just need Jeff McNeil to put the ball in play, and he's been doing a lot better, and balls have started to finally fall for him.
Absolutely. Nice to see McNeil back. What's not been so nice to see has been Seth Lugo in his last couple of outings. He's been getting roughed up. He was a big reason why the Mets lost the Saturday game against the Pirates and then struggled, I believe it was against the Reds in the first game, if I'm not mistaken. So what's going on with Seth Lugo? Is there something wrong with him? My question is, was he maybe using substance? I don't think so, because he came out and said, hey, I'm glad we're all on an even playing field. I haven't been using it. So nice to see everyone going to have to, be on the same playing field. But, since he said that, he's not looked so good. So what's going on with Seth Lugo? Let's start with Frank.
Yeah, I think with Seth, I'm hoping, kind of like I said with Edwin Diaz, I hope that first outing against Pittsburgh was a little bit of rust because, I've never seen Seth Lugo have an outing like that. Lugo, who'll give up a run here or there, but that many runs in one inning, you don't see that Seth Lugo out of the bullpen. The only other time I can think of is when he was sick and he was going against the Marlins, sweating profusely, and this was years ago, and he struggled. Other than that, that's very uncharacteristic for Seth Lugo. And I think that in the second game, that first inning was not so good. Second inning, he was, typical Lugo, beautiful. Something is up with his command. Seth Lugo is a guy that he has pinpoint command. He's not like Diaz and Castro familiar where it like comes and goes. Lugo's command is usually there. And I saw him spike a pitch in a 3-2 count. He walked the batter. Like, Lugo is enough of he was a start pitcher by trade, so when he needs a strike, he can get a strike, but he just hasn't been there for whatever reason. So I'm not sure if it's something mechanic-wise. I don't think he was using any sticky stuff because, I just think that, like, he's just missing. And I really just think that Seth Lugo is so good that he will figure it out. But for whatever reason, he was just really missing in that Cincinnati game, those uncharacteristic. And I just don't know what happened in that Pittsburgh game. When was the last time he had pitched before that Pirates game? It had to have been over a week. So I want to attribute that to rust. That's kind of just like best case scenario because I just think that Lugo is too good to do that consistently. Because you know what? I don't want to bash anybody, but when Diaz showed in 2019, Lugo really, was the guy the Mets trusted. Maybe a little too much. They're like, Lugo give us 6 outs every night, pretty much. Give him a night off, go right back to 6 outs. So Lugo can be that guy, but for whatever reason, second half hasn't really been exactly where he was getting to. He right up to the All-Star break, Lugo was finally getting to a consistent basis. Now he's been a little shaky.
Andrew, what are you thinking about Seth Lugo? Something wrong with him? Or are you concerned?
I'm not as concerned as I am with Diaz because, like Frank said, he hadn't pitched in a week. Obviously, the All-Star break, he's coming off the injury. He struggled his first couple starts coming off the injured list, and then got good. And then the break hit, and then he struggled in Pittsburgh, and he struggled again. So I think for him, maybe it's just getting back into that repetition of, yes, the Mets used him as 6-out saves in 2020 and 2019, but now maybe him just being that one-inning guy, but maybe now with Diaz, who knows. But I think maybe just getting him back into the repetition of, like, hey, 2 or 3 times a week, get back and get his rust, like Frank said, the rust off and getting back to that normal Seth Lugo.
And Mets fan, what are you thinking about Seth Lugo? Is there something wrong with him, an injury, or, are you not concerned?
Here's the thing. He's recovering from a very serious elbow surgery. And I just don't think he's at his peak ability right now. I don't think he's been at the peak ability since he came back. There's just been very up and down things going on with him. I don't think there's that much to worry about mechanically because he has so many weapons to back himself up. And he's one of those pitch at will type of guys. But he did have a bounce back inning in Cincinnati, which is something he really needed to get some confidence up after he gave up that run. Come playoff time, I think he'll be fine. He just needs to ease back into his role and he'll be fine. I'm not really that concerned about Lugo given his history of success out of the bullpen.
Aiden, what are your thoughts on Lugo?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Seth Lugo was one of our favorite bullpen guys. He's known for his very famous curveball and his spin rate on it, which is adored by a lot of Mets fans. And, it's unfortunate to see him go into that Pittsburgh series and probably have one of his absolute worst performances that I've probably seen out of Lugo in quite a while. And I forgot who it was, but someone said, Seth Lugo could give you that 6-out save that was used a lot in 2019. For example, he used it against the Marlins and stuff in close one-run games. And that's what I really liked in Seth Lugo. Obviously, like we said, he's coming back from an injury. He missed a lot of time. I feel he was rushed a little bit in the health process, I feel, because we were lacking a lot of bullpen arms and pitching, obviously, at that current time. But I'm hoping Seth Lugo can get over the hump. Obviously, he's a bullpen pitcher that people really like. Say guys like Aaron Loop have really been one of the best bullpen pitchers this Mets team really has at the moment. But I'm not going to hold it to Lugo. He probably, I mean, he's been a little shady. I think his last appearance he came in, I think he allowed a walk, but was able to strike out the side following that. So I'm hoping Lugo could turn it around. He has plenty of time, full second half, to show that he's still an elite curveball thrower.
And Elias, wrap it up. What are you thinking about Lugo and his recent struggles?
Yeah, a lot's been said, a lot of good stuff. I agree. His command, that's something I, really enjoyed from him in the past. And, it hasn't been there. 5 runs from Lugo is very strange, honestly. He is such a consistent pitcher. You come out, you trust him. 2019, when Diaz was having his struggles, Lugo's absolute money. He was carrying this bullpen. It was him and Justin Wilson, and that was just about it. Absolutely carried this bullpen back in 2019. And, I think being able to, have more depth in this bullpen can take the load off of him. A loose body in your elbow it's not Tommy John, but it's sure damn serious. Like Mets fans said, anything in your throwing elbow, it's a pretty big injury. I mean, he had to miss a bunch of time to begin with. So hopefully maybe you sit him for a little bit. Hopefully he can get back healthy. Maybe it's an injury thing that's going on with him. I wouldn't be surprised with this fucking training staff to see him on the injured list again. But I really hope he figures it out. When Lugo is right, he is just phenomenal. You come out, give you 2 shutout innings in relief. It's just so valuable, especially come October.
Yeah, and we've talked about injuries quite a bit on this segment of Mets Weekly, so it leads me into my next question. I'm actually going to combine it with another one. The first really is the training staff to blame for these mass injuries. And I could tell you one thing, I know one guy that won't get injured, and that's Gary DiSarcina, because he's not waving his arm around. He keeps holding runners at third base, so he should be in perfect health. So let me ask you guys, what do you think? Is Gary DiSarcina a problem as the third base coach? Has he been too conservative with runners coming around third? And secondly, is the training staff to blame for the mass injuries on this team this year? Let's start with Mets fan.
All right, well, let's start with Gary DiSarcina. Yes, he is a problem. And I don't mean to say that he just costs us runs, but he's costing us players now. I mean, Robert Stock isn't the best, but he's a body to put out there considering the injury history. This guy treats every outfield arm like it's Vlad Sr. I mean, and it's really starting to piss me off. It's Wii Sports baseball with this guy. A guy on second can only score on a double. This conservative base running, it's really costing us, especially with the wrist problems that we've had going in and going out. He's another typical Mets way to screw up a golden opportunity to score. It's just absolutely unacceptable. You might have to come back to me on the next one because I'm running out of breath.
Okay, so then let's go to Hayden. Hayden, what do you think about DiSarcina and the training staff? Are they to blame for the injuries?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this, though. Gary DiSarcina, it's been tough with him. Like Mets fan pointed out, the runners in scoring position has been an issue. And he is the one to blame possibly for Robert Stock's injury. Obviously, Kevin Pillar was on second base prior to the hit where he held him at third. And like Mets fans said, he treats every outfielder like they have an elite cannon of an arm. Not every outfielder's like that, especially maybe a right fielder where it's coming from a longer way. Left field, okay, maybe I have an argument. Center, maybe not either. But like we said, he's treating every outfielder like an elite outfielder. And like I was talking about the Robert Stock thing, obviously, I forgot who exactly was that advanced Pillar over to third, but that would have been awesome to score. Pillar's not slow. He's not Wilson Ramos. He's not Albert Pujols. He could easily score on 2. And then obviously what happened because of that? Robert Stock and just the Mets generally know they're struggling with runners in scoring position. So he had a fair shot ball pretty hard to Jonathan India, but he was able to scoop it cleanly. He figured he had a chance to hustle it out, get Pillar to score. And what did he do? He pulled something when he was hustling down the first base line. But, if Pillar scored and there was no one on third, why would you have ran it out? Who are you trying to score? You trying to move the runner up from first to second? No. So Gary DiSarcina is definitely going to be an issue. It comes to a point is when he's not waving Lindor to go from second to home when the ball's being about to be cleaned up on the warning track, send him home. Just send the dude home. If it's James, and then he sends James McCann home 2 minutes after that. So, and then he gets tagged out. So I don't really understand what's going on with DiSarcina. I understand he wants to play it safe, but save these guys. I don't care if you're trying to avoid injuries. You got a nice hustle in Nimmo. You got a nice hustle in Lindor, and he also didn't send Nimmo the other day on that Alonso hit, which I think arguably he could have sent him. It's from left field. It's clearly far away from home plate. And left fielders typically don't have a strong arm. And then in terms of the training staff, it's the same training staff as 2019 for the most part. Going into the season, we all expected injuries to happen. Sally, the best of the biggest, Trout, Judge, these guys got hurt starting the season. And then pretty much everyone got hurt but James McCann. Knock on wood. Something has to change. I don't know what they're doing. And I don't know if it's a fundamental workout. I don't know if it's the training programs. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the training staff or if they're taking the right reps during batting practice or practice itself. I really couldn't tell you. I mean, personally, I really don't know what's going on with this Mets team and injuries. Like we said, we all expected injuries to happen, but not this bad. I didn't expect only, one player to be alive on the full everyday roster. It's unfortunate. It sucks. It's tough. Did we get the worst? Absolutely. And I think the Yankees are definitely getting a hit of it now, but that's other stuff. But the Yankees got their fair share of play. The Red Sox, a lot of teams got their fair share of injuries. We got it the worst, though. Do I think it's the training staff? Maybe the pitching staff to an extent, yes. But it's the same one as 2019. So I really think, the starts and stops really threw everyone off. A lot of guys couldn't get the full season in. Now they're getting the full season in. A lot of guys, places were closed. They couldn't go to their everyday training centers, and it threw off their curricular activities and just their way of going about things.
Elias, what do you think? And Gary DiSarcina and the training staff?
Yeah, first of all, Tony, your thing about him, not waving his arm, that was hysterical. That was perfectly timed. But
Thank you.
The thing with DiSarcina, it's like the equivalent of, one of the first things you learn in Little League Baseball is like when you're playing the outfield, don't just wait for the ball to roll onto you, going a mile an hour, run and charge at it. This guy is just, oh, nope, gotta wait, gotta be conservative. I can't stand that. I can't stand, this team struggles to score runs. You want to know a big part of that? You want to know a big part of scoring runs? Touching home. The only way to touch home is to go past third unless you hit a home run. So, which obviously you have to go back home, but still, that's besides the point. Dude needs to be much more aggressive. It's infuriating watching when we got legitimate speed on this team now. I mean, yeah, a couple years ago, we had no speed on the team, but now we got guys like Lindor, VR. Guys were always saying, send Lindor, send VR.
Send VR.
Send VR and send Gary DiSarcina
Merch coming soon.
out of here. Seriously, because, we need to get the send Lindor shirts. I think send Lindor will be better than send VR because I don't think VR will be here much longer. And we got 10 years of Lindor, so send Lindor shirts. Hopefully coming soon. We'll take a look at that. But with the training staff, dude, it's infuriating. I mean, I think they need to call up Joe Douglas from the Jets because supposedly he got the stud, science-based training staff that they got going there. Hopefully, we'll see no injuries this year, but that's different, obviously. But they need something because the amount of everyday player has gotten hurt this year except one. Every starting pitcher. Wait, did Stroman go on the IL this year?
He got taken out of a start with the hip.
Oh, I have a full analysis. Don't worry.
Okay. So every starter has some. I won't count him. Every starter except one has gone on the IL this year. A couple relievers have gone on the IL. It's just insane. I just want to see a chart of the amount of salary that sat on the IL this year. It's just you're throwing money away. It's crazy, and it's just. Also, these players, it's not just like, minor, they got a little bruise on their, kneecap or something. It's hamstring pulls, shit like legit things that keep them out for months. And, we're winning games and we got the whole bench mob and stuff. But, these players are here to play at least 150 plus games. And they just can't because this training staff isn't. And is it all for them to blame? No, but I think that's literally a big part. And you can see I'm passionate about this because I was so freaking excited to see these players play this year, and it all just gets ruined by this incompetent training staff.
Yeah, it's been really weird. Let's see. Frank, what are you thinking? Gary DiSarcina and the training staff.
Yeah, both are definitely problems. Gary DiSarcina drives me nuts every time he saves a runner. But I think the main reason why is just the whole idea of how much the Mets struggle with runners at scoring position. Like, Okay, so finally you get a hit with runner on base, and you don't send them. Like, do you know how rare it is for you to get back-to-back hits with runners in scoring position? Like, you're really asking for a lot. But the way the team was struggling, if the team is on fire and everybody's hitting, there's no need to be sending guys like crazy. But when the team was struggling and the pitcher was doing so good, you're in all these really tight, close games, and it's, like 2 outs or something like that, and you have, a crappy hitter coming up next, you got to send the guy, especially with a Lindor, with a Pilar, guys that have speed. Those are the guys you got to send. I mean, the one that I still can't believe he did was the Dom Smith one against the Yankees, and Dom was safe. So it's like, look what happens when you send a guy. Good things happen. A relay is harder to do than you think. Like, getting an accurate throw from the outfielder to get the cutoff man, which is such a lost art in today's game. Back in my day, you always hit the cutoff man. Now, people just throw it all over the place. But then the cutoff man to then give an accurate throw to the catcher. Catcher makes a good tag. Like, so many things have to go right in order to get a guy out of home plate. If it's not, an Acuna out there, or Mookie Betts, or Joey Gallo out there. Like, a normal outfielder, you really need a lot of things to go well. So I think that when the team was struggling, you got to send guys. And, again, with people that have speed, you got to let them – McNeil, like, these guys could run. They're young. Let them run, especially, I don't know who's in charge of sending the guys, but they need to go too. Whether that's Tarasco or whoever says send them, don't send them, they got to go. Lindor has to run more. VR, more. Nimmo, more. If you get Trevor Story, Javi Baez, send them. Let them run. I mean, it is such a difference maker. You don't have a double play. Put pressure on the pitcher. Like, pitchers I think it would help out hitters so much more that if Alonso's at the plate and the pitcher actually had to worry about Lindor, that would make a huge difference. And all of a sudden, they mess up on a pitch and Alonso hits a 2-run homer because they're like, oh, do I have to check on Lindor? Do I got to check on Nimmo? Do I got to check on VR? It would just change the pitcher's mindset so much. And then the trainers. Oh, my gosh. So here's the thing. Hayden made a good point that there's been a lot of injuries in Major League Baseball this year, shortened season, things like that. And plenty of teams have had their injuries. I get that. But the amount of injuries that the Mets have had compared to everybody else, it should almost be impossible for the Mets to have had as many injuries as they've had. The amount of players that have gotten hurt, it shouldn't even be possible to have that many guys get hurt. Like, that should just be against the rules, that you cannot have that many guys get hurt. In this short of a season, there's still plenty of season to go. And then when the All-Star break happened, you would think that these trainers, this whole staff, would give these guys a workout regimen to keep their bodies in game shape during the layoff. Having a few days off just to make sure these guys are not going to get hurt when they come back. Jacob Degrom, we still know how he got hurt. So whatever workout plan they gave him did not work. And Francisco Lindor, one of his first swings back, boom, his oblique is done. Lindor is a super durable player. Like, this is not a guy that has an injury history. So for Lindor to pull an oblique, that is really, really rare. So whatever plan you gave him was no good either. And, like, if you fire the coaching staff, would it make a difference? Maybe, because whatever coaching staff you bring in, it actually is impossible for them to be worse than what we've had. Because, again, just the amount, like, the whole team besides, James McCann has gotten hurt. And Edwin Diaz, he had that one game in Philly, back tightness. But other than that, the whole team has been hurt. And it just keeps happening constantly. And I'm so sick and tired of it because that is something that could make or break the season. If these injuries keep happening, that could bounce you from the playoffs. And if it happens after the deadline where you can't make a move, you're screwed. And a lot of these injuries are preventable. When you pull a hamstring, an oblique, things like this, what they call soft tissue injuries, that has to do with stretching. That has to do with the way you're preparing your body. That's not something that's the player's fault. That is, the way that they are trained. So whatever they are doing, the philosophy, it's wrong. So the whole coaching staff, Hefner's done a great job. Rojas, the jury's out. But everybody else, they really suck.
All right, somebody get Frank a glass of water. Andrew, what are you thinking about DiSarcina and the Mets training staff, huh?
I don't know if I can top that, but I'll try. DiSarcina's got to go. I mean, we complained about Tim Teufel for sending him too much. Now we're complaining about DiSarcina not sending anybody, and especially when this offense was anemic and not scoring at all. And they finally get a hit with a guy on second base, and this guy's holding them back. And how many games we lose one-run games? Then, hey, you would have sent them there, sent the guy there. This is all completely different game. With the injuries, it's the Mets. They're always getting hurt. Every year it seems, here comes the big bug. But also remember, the Mets also have probably the weirdest schedule out of any MLB team. How many doubleheaders? How many rain delays? How many rain cancellations in games? the Mets have had the worst season just keeping it off-field stuff. Rain delays, postponements, doubleheaders. What is – oh, God, what's we got chart-wise?
Mets fans.
Yeah, if you guys want to show that, I just sent it.
It's projected WAR on the IL. The Mets lead the league with 20 wins above replacement on the IL.
I mean, that's what happened when you have a whole –
they're the tall one.
Wow.
The Rockies don't do a lot right, but let's get their trainers because they're at the bottom.
That works.
They also
they also have the worst roster, so anybody that gets hurt, I mean,
do y'all see the difference between us and second place, which is the Dodgers?
It's
do y'all
almost
see that difference?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Dear Lord.
Crazy.
Dear Lord.
Yeah.
I did not get my rant about the trading staff.
Andrew, did you get to finish what you wanted to say?
Yeah, if Mets fans got some, I'll let the floor go to him.
All right. Let's give a little list here. Ready? Dominic Smith, James McCann, Marcus Stroman, Edwin Diaz, Yedzi Diaz, and Travis Blankenhorn. These are the only 6 players on the current 40-man roster who have not had an IL stint. We have used 57 players, and we're going to use more. Someone has to be held responsible. This is ridiculous. I am pretty sure we have had injury-related transactions every day since opening day. Hamstrings, side tightness, oblique strains, somebody poked an eye out. I mean, it's just not a coincidence that this training staff, that someone needs to be held accountable. It's just getting ridiculous. This has been a problem for a long time. And the fact that this has not been addressed yet is unacceptable. We need our players at 100%. And I am just crossing my fingers, crossing my toes. Hopefully, Jeff McNeil has 2 working limbs tomorrow, because this is basically how the season has gone. This is fucking ridiculous.
Well, that is all true. It's been a rough season injury-wise. Gary DiSarcina has not done us many favors being so conservative as the third base coach, but someone that's had an amazing year, one of Sandy Alderson's under-the-radar signings this offseason, and that is reliever Aaron Loup. So we want to just have a moment, little maybe golf clap for Aaron Loup, who's really kept
add Loup to that list. Okay, so 7. Woo.
And Loup. I was going to say, I don't think
he's been healthy.
There we go.
But he has been carrying the bullpen on his back. I mean, he has been put in almost every imaginable situation in any inning, any amount of runners on base, outs in the inning, and he has been fantastic. Who would like to start? And if you have anything to say about Loup, Elias, go ahead.
Yeah, so Aaron Loup's tenure with the Mets didn't start too hot. First pitch, drilled Bryce Harper. Ever since then, been absolute money. He can pitch 3 perfect innings. He can be amazing against lefties. He can pitch well against righties. He can pitch consistently. He can be your opener. He can pitch a couple innings, then go crack a couple open. Go crack a couple brews open for the boys.
All right.
What I want to say about Aaron Loup is the versatility that this guy has. I mean, I'm not sure if there's a way to look it up stat-wise, but I would love to know every inning that Aaron Loup has pitched in, because he's pitched in the first inning, in the second inning, in the third inning, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. I mean, how many pitchers can you say that about to have that kind of versatility to pitch in literally any scenario and be effective in those given scenarios? If it's, I need you for a batter, I need you for 2 batters, I need you for 3 innings. All those different things, Loup has done them so well. And this is a guy that, like, expectation-wise, it was so low. It's like, maybe, like, we just need a lefty. He's a cheap option. He's older. He came from Tampa. Let's get him. I don't think anybody was expecting Loup to just be flat-out dominant or all-star-like. I mean, the fact that this guy in all these different numbers is just through the roof, and the consistency really amazes me. So I feel like I said this last week, but I'm going to say it again. Aaron Loup has been so good that I really hope that the Mets do get a second lefty at this trade deadline, just to not overdo it with Loup, because he hasn't gone to the injury list yet. And with this training staff, they're bound to screw him eventually. So just keep him nice and safe, and and if he doesn't have to throw 3 innings, don't make him throw 3 innings. Unless it's an emergency, do not overwork Loup, because if you do, all of a sudden he might not be as effective. I think that's what they did to Chasen Shreve last year. Chasen Shreve was amazing the whole year, went through a bunch of long relief outings, and then all of a sudden they used him a lot. He lost his effectiveness. And now this season he's pitched very well for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Why did you non-tender him and tender Robert Gsellman? that's a topic for another time. But still, Loop, I just think that I hope they keep what they're doing and just don't overdo it and really waste what's been such a strong season.
Hayden, anything to say about Aaron Loop, who's been superb this year?
Yeah, I mean, the submarine style pitcher has been probably arguably one of the best free agent signings we got this offseason. Pretty much like both of the other guys said, just don't overuse Loop. And I feel that kind of happened in the series, in the Red series the day before yesterday. So what is today's date? So that was Tuesday's game. And I think Tuesday's game, I was like, oh, he gave up the run. Well, theoretically, he came in with the runner on. And, you got to give him. It was a matter of time for him to give up runs. Obviously, he's been performing very well. He's been in so many situations where he's had the bases loaded and 1 out. And what does he do? He gets out of it with not even allowing a run. Not even with the hitter having contact with the ball. 2 back-to-back strikeouts. So I think Loop has really been something for this team. He has playoff experience, which you like. He did pitch in the World Series last year with the Tampa Bay Rays, and like Frank said, he can go any inning. He started the game a week or 2 ago, right? And he went
Pittsburgh.
We went like 3 innings. So I think Loop is going to be a nice little thing for this team. Obviously we lost Justin Wilson, we lost Jason Shreve, so that kind of limits our left-handed pitcher count in the bullpen. That'd be nice. So we could approach at the deadline. I will say I did have one guy in mind, which I did upload a video about that. But yeah, I mean, Aaron Loop's been a nice surprise for this team.
All right, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, the guy is better than Josh Hader. No, I'm not saying that. But again, he's been definitely a great surprise from the Mets bullpen. Get him for 1 year, $3 million. Everyone was like, we need Brad Hand. And he has outclassed Brad Hand this year. Especially, yes, he's not in the ninth inning like for the Nationals with Brad Hand, but Aaron Loop has come in here and he's gotten in and has gotten out big. Look at the Pirates series on, I believe it was the Sunday game. Bases loaded, and Frazier and Reynolds coming up, and I think Defoe, who was killing us that series, will all do up, and he strikes the next 3 guys out to get in and out of the jam. He's been, I guess, the most reliable arm in that bullpen. When he's brought in the game, and there's chaos, you expect when he comes in, he'll get out of it, and he has all throughout the year. Like everybody said, add a lefty. There's some guys out there you can go get, a couple in Baltimore, maybe Taylor Rogers from the Twins. Don't kill him, please.
Mets fan, what are you thinking about Luke?
This man is the savior of this team. I mean, seriously, anything you need him to do, he gets out of it. I mean, he just does it. The man's a straight badass. I mean, I hope all Mets fans send him 6 packs of beer in the mail. The man's earned it. He has earned it. Michael Conforto, Noah Syndergaard. This man might be coming for your contract. I don't know. I am so upset this guy wasn't an all-star. And I'll be even more upset if they don't bring him back. Aaron Loop has been the second best player on this team, and I will continue to say that. Debate a wall once again. I know you love Nimmo, Andrew, but Aaron Loop, beast.
All right. Well, we got one more topic real quick, and let's go with this one. What is the key for the Mets to keep winning? I know we talked a lot about injuries. Personally, for me, the team's got to stay healthy, get back some healthy pitchers in Carlos Carrasco, hopefully Noah Syndergaard. Jacob Degrom needs to get back. That's the big key for me. But what do you guys think? Frank, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. Health and Diaz being effective. That's what's going to come down to. If Diaz is himself and is a good closer and they stay healthy, they'll be fine.
All right, Andrew, what's the key for the Mets to keep winning?
Bullpen and not screwing up this trade deadline. Bring in the right guys, and they'll keep winning.
All right, Elias.
I'm going to bring up kind of a different topic. I think you need to have some leadership emerge. With Lindor out, you kind of need that captain in your infield. I don't know who's going to take over that role, but you need that guy who's always out there getting his guys fired up. So, I could say, yeah, stay healthy. Yeah, obviously, have a good trade deadline. But I think, a lot of things, leadership is, very underrated in the sport. A lot of people say ever since Didi Gregorius left the Yankees, they've kind of been going downhill. And, is he the greatest player in the world? No. But, he was a great leader to that team. So I think, having a leader emerge to kind of replace Lindor until he gets back, Lindor will still be there in the clubhouse, but until he goes on rehab assignments and treatment and all that good stuff. But on the field, helping the pitchers out, getting guys in position. We really need to see a guy like that emerge.
Hayden, what is the key for the Mets to continue winning?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options, obviously. I mean, simply, I think health is very important. Simply enough, health, and then I guess the starting pitching, which I don't know if those two kind of tie together, obviously, because as a reason we're low on starting pitching is due to health. But I'm just going to go health/starting pitching. And I also am going to go with the offense. I think the runners in scoring position and leaving batters on base is going to be very crucial. Even when you're up 5-0, still, I mean, we learned in this Pittsburgh series, 5-0, 6-0, a run is never safe until the catcher and the pitcher walk towards each other to fist bump, shake each other's hands, and say, good ball game, we got the W. That is when it's safe otherwise. And then, I mean, that's why I think the deadline's going to be important because if, like everyone said, if Carrasco's not going to be, spick and span, if, DeGrom's going to have a couple setbacks, it's going to be an issue. So simply enough, health, starting pitching, and being able to hit and provide offense when it's needed.
All right, and Mets fan, wrap it up for us. What's the key to the Mets to continue winning?
All right, I'm going to do it. Bat Alonso second, please. I've said it way too many times. We've scored 32 runs in 4 games with Pete in the 2 spot. The power dynamic is so perfect with all these guys getting on base. It sets him up for so many RBI situations. I don't think people realize it. And I can go into full detail, but I won't. Borderline, I'm a genius. Stop doubting me. And it never ends well.
Well, there you have it. Mets fans a genius. So I think we may have a few questions. I'm not sure. It doesn't look like we actually have enough. So I think what we'll do is wrap it up a little bit early here, unless you guys have any other topics that you guys want to talk about. Anything?
There's only like one here that I think you're like, but it's half and half. I don't know. Some of you guys have some shitty questions.
So how about this? I'm going to ask you guys a question then. Give me one name at the trade deadline that you want to see in a Mets uniform after July 30th. Go. Mets talk with Hayden.
I'm going to go with Kyle Gibson and Ian Kennedy.
Okay. Elias.
I'm going to go Sonny Gray.
Very nice. Frank.
Kimbrel.
Oh, I like that. Mets fan.
J-Ram now.
Yeah, you're going to lose Ronnie Mauricio, Brett Beatty, and maybe JT Ginn too. So I don't know how you'll feel about that. And Andrew, wrap it up. What do you think? Who do you want?
I'll go somebody else. I'll go Ian Kennedy.
Ian Kennedy. All right. I think Elias mentioned that, or Mets. Someone
might.
Hayden mentioned that. Okay. I'm gonna go with. This is kind of tough. I'm gonna say Jose Barrios. I don't think they're gonna get him, but I do want to get another surefire starting pitcher in this rotation. We've been decimated. We need some length out of these guys, and he'd slot in really nicely. So it looks like we actually got one question, so we're going to do it real quick before we end things. So this question is, what team are you most concerned for the Mets to play coming up in their schedule?
Who's coming up?
I don't know.
Let me check the schedule.
Anybody?
Fake fan alert. My bad.
You could always make it like a playoff. Like, what team would you be concerned to face in the playoffs?
Yeah, I just read it as it was written. If we're just talking about the upcoming schedule, I know it's not like immediately coming up, but we're gonna have that stretch against the Giants and Dodgers for consecutive games. That's gonna be that could be brutal. Hopefully, we'll have a nice big lead in the National League East by that time.
The 5-game stretch against the Braves coming out next week. Bury the Braves. You just got to worry about Philadelphia.
I kind of have an odd answer. It's against Miami. They seem to always kick our ass, and we cannot lose, easy games.
I'll go to that game.
Opponent.
I'll go there. I'm gonna go to that series. Don't worry. I'll probably hop on the Tony train. I'm gonna say that Dodgers and Giants. I believe like Dodgers Giants. It's back to back. That's weeks.
Four straight series.
Mid-August. That's a big factor, especially in August in this tough division. And then I guess if you want to transition it into a playoff, I don't know if that was part of the question, but I guess a team like the Dodgers could be very concerning in the playoffs, or Padres with their hot lineups and crucial pitching and bullpen.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go really for the Dodgers, and here's why. I think with the Bauer situation And the fact that the Dodgers are not in first place in their division, I have a funny feeling they're going to make a really big move at the deadline. Whether that's for a star pitcher or whether that's for a star shortstop, I think the Dodgers are going to do something big. And it could be Max Scherzer. So by the time we play them in mid-August, they're going to have made that big move and had a couple weeks with that big move in the fold. So I think that by the time we play the Dodgers, they're probably going to be first in that division. I just don't know how the Giants are doing it. Like, I know the rotation is good, but I just don't know how they can keep doing it. So the Dodgers are definitely not the team in the regular season, but in the playoffs, reigning champs for a reason. You always have to be careful with the Dodgers, especially the Mets haven't played them yet this year. They haven't played them last year either, so it's been a while since they've matched up against Los Angeles. And you got to hope that the Mets have a healthy rotation. You don't have Robert Stock and Jared Eichel facing them. Like, you need to have Carrasco, you need to have Degrom, Walker, Stroman go up against these good pitchers that San Fran and Los Angeles have.
I have a question for you guys, actually. Is there another viewer question?
No, that's
all right. Who at the deadline do you not want?
Sorry.
I mean, can I start?
You go ahead. Oh, well, I don't.
Yes, I'm scrolling through an Instagram post. Overrated Javi Error Baez, all sorts of good stuff. But no, that's boring. You guys already know my opinion on him. For me, it's Jose Barrios, and it's just because he's a high upside pitcher who lacks some result, and because he has such high upside, it's going to cost too much, in my opinion.
Yeah, my guy is Josh Donaldson. I think that his injury concern is just too much for me. I just think that, like, the Mets have had so many problems with injuries. If you bring in Donaldson and he gets hurt, it kind of wastes the purpose. So I think the fact that, he's older, he's had so many injuries, his body's only going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. So I just think that with his contract going forward, there could just be too many injuries in there to really get the value out of it.
I'm going to echo with Donaldson there as well. Same.
Andrew, Hayden, any thoughts? Or
Hayden go first. I'll sit on mine.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options. I guess I'll go on the Donaldson trade. Or, I mean, he's 35, 36. Just put David Wright out there if you're going to bring him up. Yeah, I gotta go with Donaldson. I mean, there's a lot of guys who you could give an example for, not give an example for. I'll probably go with simple Josh Donaldson move, or maybe an Adam Frazier. I feel in terms of Adam Frazier, I feel Jeff McNeil's already starting to show that. I mean, Adam Frazier and McNeil are pretty similar players. Hit for high average, make call and play, no matter what the result is. But, I mean, we already have McNeil, and I feel where are you going to put him? I don't want to have to throw McNeil at third. McNeil's confidence position is second. That's where he started in the minor league. So, yeah, I'm probably going to go with Adam Frazier. I would not really I wouldn't be upset. I like his bat, but I just think in terms of the defense and positioning and the lineup, I think it would shift it a little bit.
Yeah, Hayden, I agree. I feel like we already have an Adam Frazier in Jeff McNeil.
Yeah.
I think it'd just be a little monotonous.
I'm gonna go Barrios just because of the cost. If they want a Mauricio, they're gonna ask for Ginn. For me, a career 4 ERA guy. No, ERA isn't everything, but a guy that has always been potential. This is the year he breaks out. No, this is the year he breaks out, and he never seems to. Yes, is there a good pitcher inside him? Probably, but I'm not gonna go, especially for what the cost that they're asking for. If it was a reasonable cost for his value, I'm 100% in on it. But if we're giving up a Mauricio, we're giving up a Vientos, a Ginn, yeah, I'm staying away from Jose Barrios.
All right, well, my guy is not even in baseball right now, but I don't want to see Todd Frazier in a Mets uniform.
That's the easy one.
Hey, Japanese, Japan, USA.
He's about to go win a gold medal, man.
Okay.
Go win us some gold, Todd Father.
And
gold he'll have.
Wow. Little League World Series champ
Andy
and USA medal champion of the future. All right, guys. Well, let's wrap it up. I appreciate you guys all jumping on the stream and appreciate all the viewers, your comments and your questions. It was great. I'm going to let everyone go around and just exit and tell us a little bit about their channel. So let's start with Andrew Acevedo.
Yeah, I'm working on probably maybe the biggest video I've been able to work on. It's going to be a lucky guide to the 2021 trade deadline. I don't know why I said lucky. It's a dummy's guide to the MLB trade deadline in 2021. Also probably going to start streaming a little more this weekend. And again, NHL draft is this weekend, so who knows, maybe some big trades happen there. So pretty much thanks for Tony for hosting, and love doing these.
Mets fan.
All right. Well, I'm a Mets fan. I do analytical videos about some all crazy stuff. I do have a video about some MLB draft history, and it does sadly involve the Mets. Maybe that can hint where we're going with this. But if you like numbers, I'm the guy for you. Make sure to go check it out. No more injuries, please. I mean, I know I might be numb to a lot of these things, but I still can feel pain. LFGM.
Frank, tell us about your channel.
Yep, Frank About Sports, as you see, space in between each word. Next week, big video coming out, looking at the guys who are most likely to be dealt and some potential trade, destinations for them, places that are good fits for those players. And also, the other key for the Mets, weather would be nice because right now Yankees are in a rain delay. It is absolutely downpouring at Fenway Park, and the Mets have had so many doubleheaders in bad weather. So please, Mother Nature, be much nicer to us in the second half.
All right, Elias, a.k.a. Big Apple Banter Media.
Yeah, Big Apple Banter Media, the home of Big Apple Baseball Banter. Every Wednesday, 6 p.m. trade deadline coming up. Everyone's got their takes, and I want to hear them. Please call in. Also, you can catch me on Reckless Airwaves Radio. I think that's what it was called. I just did an episode with them, so shout out to them for having me. Big Apple Baseball Banter, or Big Apple Banter Media now. Also, the second episode of Meadowland Madness will be on Andrew's channel this week for all you Jets and Giants fans. Hope to see you there as well. Of course, Tony, appreciate you having me on. Appreciate everyone. This is a fun stream, and let's go Mets.
And Hayden.
Best for last. All right, everyone. Mets Talk with Hayden. Please feel free to check me out. Pretty well known for my rages. I'm assuming pretty much for most of my streams, random people just comment like, "Oh, you're the Rage Kid." Yup, I am the Rage Kid. Pretty great content to come ahead. Obviously, series recaps, summaries, updates, predictions, all that stuff. Getting a lot of Blue Jays fans in the channel. Not really sure why exactly, but I'm fans. My stream was infestated with AL East people today. It was AL East, no Mets, so I don't mind that. Definitely may want to get into some more just generalization in terms of the MLB. It's always great to expand my knowledge and communicate with other people too. And see what their takes are, people that don't follow the Mets every day, and see what they have to think about the Mets. So I want to thank Tony for streaming, hosting. I give him a 5 out of 5. Great host, LFGM.
Hayden, you got to get an MLB umpire hat so you can just.
I should.
So no team, no one's gonna drop all that stuff,
Yeah.
I'm going to say that I'm affiliated with Manfred and Joe Wentz.
Angel
Hey,
Hernandez,
you can get one of those upside down hats with those new logos upside down. You're gonna get one of those for the collection. Oh, thank God.
Mets on top of it over the logo. That was nasty.
Big is brutal. They're really running out of ideas.
Honestly, the All-Star Game jersey, I may buy one when I go golfing.
I might buy one when they're go on discount for $5 at Marshall's.
Whenever you have a cricket game available,
Soccer.
All right, you guys. Well, that was a great stream. As you guys know, I'm Tony Metro. I make videos all about Major League Baseball. Just posted one today. Trade predictions for each of the current MLB playoff teams. So go check that out. And my upcoming video is going to be some of the worst trade deadline deals in Major League Baseball history. And sadly, it will be featuring the Mets, at least for a portion of it. So looking forward to sending that one out. Cough, cough, Scott Casimir and Victor Zambrano. Anyway, thank you all for joining. We will see you guys next week for another episode of Mets Weekly. Let's go, Mets.